Okay, we are live.
Well, hello.
Hello. Welcome back to the channel where we talk about nothing but first law unless absolutely forced to talk about something else. I'm your host.
You're not.
Abercrombie's #1 fan, also known as Leonette. And Jashana, would you like to introduce yourself for anyone that doesn't know your lovely channel?
I'm Jashana. My channel is Jashana. I'm so creative.
It's tough to remember.
So creative. But yeah, I mostly read adult fantasy as well, and took my first foray into the world of Abercrombie back in December.
Sure did. That wasn't even like a plan you had. We were talking about Peaky Blinders, and any conversation with me has a 50-50, probably more of a 70-30 of like
turning to first law.
In my defense, I think you brought it up. I don't think
I did too. I think I did too, because I think it was just in my head because I was talking to you. Fair. And like I was just like, oh, I'm needing to read first law, and I don't, and like, oh, I could right now. And so I just said, F it, let's go.
It's like whenever you're talking to me, you're just like, before she starts getting on my case about how I haven't read first law, let me preempt that by being like, elephant in the room. No, I haven't read first law yet.
No. Yeah, I've owned them for like 2 years or something. They're here now. They're now on my favorites shelf. They were over here. Yeah, spoilers. Huge spoiler.
Like, well, after we started talking about it, then you were like saying that you might start reading it, and then I spent the next hour being like, okay, so don't expect this. Do expect this. Be prepared for this. Don't
go into it with this mindset. Setting my expectations appropriately.
I was gonna say, was my prep work, did you find that it was accurate? And
yes, very much so. Yeah, and like I think too, just like hearing hello everyone. Oh, she's over there now. So
yeah, if you could move and put the cat on instead.
Just have her.
Want to hear what the cat thinks about first law.
She gets very weirded out anytime she's on camera, which I know sounds dumb and like probably not true, but I swear to God, my phone. Like if I'm trying to take a selfie with her, like a cute little picture or something, she's always like, get.
Oh yeah, anytime I try to take a picture of cats, I swear she knows, because she'll be doing something cute and then all of a sudden she's like,
wait, what? Yeah, Lily doesn't like it. She gets irritated and just wants to flee. So
uncooperative.
Yeah.
I'm amazed that they have cats that like, just like with any other animal, that are like animal actors, for movies and stuff. And I'm like, how did you train the cat to do anything?
Yeah, training cats sounds like something that requires significantly more patience than I've ever had.
I just don't believe that it's possible. Like, I feel like they just film until the cat happens to do the thing that they wanted.
Yeah,
and they're like nailed it.
Yeah, I don't know how they do it. My cats are sweet and very docile, but like I wouldn't try to train them.
Okay, well, we're not going to do that yet. We'll give it a minute. But for anyone that's here and has not read first law, we will talk spoilers. But we'll let you know before we start. We won't jump scare you with spoilers.
Launch into that, without notice.
But yeah, so without spoilers, your journey, like, give us the 30,000-foot overview.
The overview was, I bought the series years ago and just have had it. And like, I mean, ever since I joined BookTube, it's been like one of those series of like, we try it. And there's a lot over the years that I've determined are not something I want to try. The Malazans and the freaking Robert Jordan, what's a Wheel of Time? These things I'm just like, I've done a try chapter here and there. I've just heard, I've seen excerpts. No, thank you. But Joe Abercrombie was always one that I'm like, no, I want to try it someday. Like, yeah. And just randomly was talking to you about Peaky Blinders. I was like, let's go. And pretty immediately I was like, oh, frick yeah. Like I am about to have a good time. And I was just enamored with like the writing style, the authorial voice, which is like a key thing for me. I find that my top favorites of all time always have not necessarily the same type of authorial voice, but like an authorial voice that is very distinctive and like very much my taste, And so I was like, yeah, here we go.
So what about it had kept you from trying it? But was there something about it that you had heard or that you thought there would be that kept you from reading it? And then if there was a thing like that when you read it, is it that wasn't true, or it was true but you actually liked it? Or
I think mostly just it's, a lengthy, they're chunky. They're like 500-600 pages.
I was gonna say they're not.
I'm not out here reading like Wind and Truth and stuff. So
I mean, like if you look at like First Law books, like they're not nearly as thick as like George R. R. Martin books. Like they were shorter than George R. R. Martin.
That's true. That's true. Which those were a slog. So for me,
but you're a fan.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a fan, but also they were a slog. But yeah, no, it's a series. I'm like, God, another series to try. Because what tends to happen is I read the first book in a series and then I wait a while and like it takes me all to get through the series. 'Twas not the case here, but
we started in December. It is January 12th.
Yeah, I finished them in December. This multiverse. Oh, that's funny. But yeah, I think one thing was like the grimdark of it all. Like, I just, everyone talks about he's Lord Grimdark. He's so grimdark. And
I mean, that's literally his Twitter handle, Lord Grimdark.
Yeah, literally. And I think too, I guess I think I just didn't have quite an understanding of what everyone talks about when they say grimdark, because the only thing I'd ever read that was like explicitly presented to me as grimdark was this one book years ago that I effing hated. It was just grotesque for the sake of being grotesque. Every like just horrible depths of hell of humanity was in the book, and just it all seems so pointless in like just not a fun way. It was just kind of I didn't think it was good, and it was just like horrible thing after horrible thing after horrible thing, like content warnings left, right, and center and up and down, like holy crap, man. And I was like, okay, if this is, because again it was like explicitly like grimdark, it's like if this is grimdark, I don't like grimdark. But not having quite, I guess, the understanding of, like A Song of Ice and Fire, grimdark, and like this, I'm like, oh no, I actually like this. So that kind of
I think in a lot of ways,
combination.
A Song of Ice and Fire is more grimdark than
Yeah.
First Law, and it's not even like because of like number of pages that have blood on them or anything like that. I would say it's more like a tone thing. And then also the lack of essay of any kind in First Law.
Yeah, I would agree. So yeah, that was kind of the combination, just like, series, another series, I don't know, like, and they're longer, like combined with, am I even gonna like it? I mean, I want to try it, but and I just kept putting it off, and then just bit the bullet and decided now is as good a time as any to start, and read them back to back.
A perfect Christmas read.
Yeah, it was. It really was. I was reading it on Christmas Eve and Christmas Day.
That's
and it was
happy Christmas.
So good. So good. So yeah, those are
was there, I mean, aside from the fact that like you liked it more than you obviously thought you would or whatever, or that it wasn't as like grim dark, whatever that means as you expected, was there anything else about it that you were like, this is totally not what I expected, or this is what I expected but I didn't expect to like it? Or
I think the humor, I'm stupid, and I told you, I forgot that Abercrombie's British also. Like, I knew I had heard that before. Like, once I realized, I'm like, oh, I did know that, but I forgot. And so when I started, I'm like, this is so funny. And it's like the humor I love, like that dry British wit, the British, like sarcasm, dry humor. Like,
it's understated.
Oh my gosh. And then I'm like, oh, he's British. So that makes sense.
Extremely British.
Yeah. And so I was surprised by that. I mean, I had heard people say that, and like I'd heard you say like how like there's humor in it and stuff, but I think I was surprised with like how funny I found it. Like so many times. I mean, the end of Before They're Hanged, like I cackled out loud. So there were just so many things that I found really, really funny.
Well, I think so. Yeah, that's like I think another thing that in terms of like the grim darkness of it, it's not that it's actually a comedy, because it is dark. Like for anyone that hasn't read them or is whatever, like to be clear, like very violent things happen, very harrowing things happen. It's not like a cozy well, it's my cozy fantasy. I love it, but I think it's the fact that I think it's more cynical than it is depressing. and it's more sort of like sardonic and gallows humor than it is wallowing in like heavy metal
Everything
misery.
sucks all the time. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's kind of like everything sucks all the time. Yeah. It does. But
as Logan would say, you have to be realistic.
Yeah.
Things just suck, you know?
Yeah. I think I also was surprised because I always say, like, I am a more plot-driven reader than character-driven reader. Of course, the goal, the dream is both, and I love when I find characters that I love, right? But I don't know. I think I was surprised with how much I liked these characters because, like, almost none of them I would actually say are like good people. Like a couple of them I do think. I think they're good people. But I was just surprised with like how immediately I like loved the characters and just like wanted to hang out with them. Even the ones that I didn't like initially, like Giselle, I was like, he's so stupid, but like I still like hanging out with him. When
you're rooting for a berserker and a torturer and all these like terrible people, I always say the real grimdark is the truth you learn about yourself along the way. When you're like, I'm good with this, which I'm not good with the fact that I'm good with this.
Yeah. Yes. Someone, when I had said I loved Logan, another friend was like, oh, let's see if you feel that way later. And I kept waiting for some moment, and I'm like, maybe this is what they meant, but like
I think you told me that, and I knew where you were in the series, and I was like, if you still like him at this point, he doesn't do anything worse than what you've already seen him do.
Yeah.
So.
Love Logan. Ugh. He's my fave. He's my fave.
Okay, so before we get into spoilers, we can do some more like specifics and deep diving without like giving away where things end up or what it all means or anything. But so yeah, Logan is your favorite character, but maybe like a quick unofficial kind of ranking of the POVs. Like obviously Logan is the top. We know that.
Logan's the top, and then okay, I don't know where to put Glokta because
at the top. Move Logan.
He's so funny, but okay, POVs though. I mean, Column West is at the bottom for sure.
You're poor Furious.
Yeah, he can kick rocks, but then probably Pharaoh. Even though I really liked Pharaoh initially, as it went on though, I feel like I just didn't get like as much of her, I guess, and she's also just that type of character that's just like very one-track minded, and I don't know, she just was like kind of there for me. Listen, I have thoughts, but I don't want to get spoilery.
We'll get there.
Yeah. I have complicated thoughts. I'll say that.
Well, I mean, also in the structure of it, you kind of have like 3 main POVs and then 3 kind of like supporting POVs.
Yeah, the supporting.
So there are 6, but they're not like 6 of equal like prominence.
Yeah, no. I would say honestly, Dogman is probably second after Logan. I love Dogman.
just all the Northmen all at the top.
Yeah,
Logan is also a Northman.
Yeah. But then after that, honestly, probably Giselle, even though he's so stupid and annoying in the beginning, but like I feel like he had the most like internal like growth out of anyone. The rest of them, and I mean that makes sense. He's younger. He's like, and he's he's learning more about the world and himself and whatever. So it makes sense because the other characters are all like kind of older and they're like, I've done it and seen it and I know who I am and what I'm about. And he's like trying to figure it out. And it was kind of fun like watching him, his little peeks into him trying to be like a better person and maybe not doing it very well, but sometimes, and he was trying.
An attempt was made.
Yes, an attempt was made. And I think like who he is at his core, he's like a better person than a lot of them. I'm looking at you, West. And then Glokta probably after that. But Glokta, like, we obviously get more of him. And like I really like Glokta too. And I like a lot of what is going on with Glokta in the plot, I guess, too. He was probably
he's a much more different perspective on things.
Yes, we get the political machinations, and
you get more kind of like with the West, you get it a little bit, but with Glokta, you get much more of like an inside look of like everyone else is sort of an outsider who's affected by what's going on by the movers and shakers. And Glokta also is more, he doesn't have the power to control it, but he has eyes on what the people who are in control are doing and why they're doing it.
Yes. Yeah, definitely. I would say so. And then the one character I wish had a POV was RD.
Yeah.
Yeah, because God, she's great.
Yeah, because because you only ever see her through other people's eyes, then in Before They Were Hanged, she's almost like not even in it.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, that would probably be my ranking. Definitely Logan and Dogman at the top. Logan number 1 for sure.
I'll allow it. I mean, Glockner made the top 4.
That might be kind of like a tie for different reasons, I guess,
Is that pretty much how you would have ranked them in Blade itself, or is that the ranking now having read all 3 and it changed?
Yeah, having read all 3, because in the Blade itself, I don't think Giselle probably would have been at the West probably still would be at the bottom, especially in that one. But Giselle would have been like right above him, I think.
And Glockner would have been
he would have been up higher. Yeah. Logan still would be Logan immediately, like that first chapter with Logan, I was like, yes. I am here.
I feel like obviously there are exceptions, and I'm sure someone is going to be like, not me, I have a different opinion, but I do feel like most people who love First Law, their favorite POV is either Logan or Glockta.
Yeah. If you don't like them, you're probably not going to like the books.
And there's people that'll be like, oh, I can't choose, I love Glockta and Logan equally, but I feel like usually there's Team Glockta or Team Logan. I'm obviously Team Glockta. It's my book boyfriend, but you can have Logan. It's fine.
Yeah, that works. We don't have to fight.
It's funny because like those two characters, I think, have also some of the least overlap in terms of on page, like being in a scene together. Like most of Glockta doesn't actually share a lot of screen time with almost any. Like we said, Glockta is the one that has like a POV that shows you stuff that almost the other ones like don't show you at all. He's like kind of off there buying himself. Whereas like Logan and Giselle and Pharaoh, like they kind of, and even West are kind of crisscrossing each other and showing you some of the same stuff. And then just like Glockta over here.
I would agree. Yeah, I think he was definitely my favorite from the get-go.
Okay, so any other spoiler-free, completely. So we'll do completely spoiler-free still now, and then we can start going into Blade itself spoilers, and then we'll go into Before They're Hanged spoilers, and then truly full series spoilers, so that if someone is like kind of through the series, they can still hang out a bit, and then we're gonna be like, no, leave now because we're gonna go to the end.
Yeah, here.
So any final, like completely no spoilers, anything else that you wanted to say?
I just really resonated with it, I guess. Just the thematic stuff. Like that was so many of the tabs I have are like little things characters were saying that I'm like, this is like the point of it all. And I found it very hopeful. Like I found it like to be very much a message of like hope through like crappy situations and like continuing to fight. And even though sometimes you're like, for what? Why am I doing this? Like Glockta says all the time, like, why do I do this?
Yeah, it's cynical, but it's not nihilistic.
Yeah, it's not nihilistic. It's still very like, well, you gotta just keep on going, I guess, because what the heck else are you gonna do, And
I think we talked about a lot that like you also said kind of surprised you that you hadn't heard anyone talk about is how good Abercrombie's prose is.
Yeah, yes, definitely. Like there were so many lines that I was just like, oh yeah, like yeah, that's
it do be like that. Yeah.
It really does. And I think also just the like laughing at the absurdity of our existence and like the absurdity of life and what life is and like how random. I think too, like I really resonated with crap just happens to people randomly, and it doesn't really matter if you're a good person or a bad person. Crap is still going to happen to you, and like that's true in our world. Like,
but it's also, I think, it's the same with like the grim darkness and with all the other things. He never kind of like overdoes anything, so it's not like how crazy random was that. It's like, sometimes things are kind of random. It's not like, whoa, wasn't that super random? It's like, okay, that's too much.
It's just like, yeah, that happened, and then that happened, and these other things happened, and what are you gonna do? You know, just that kind of vibe of like, well,
yeah. And I think the violence and the humor and all of it is kind of like that as well, where it's like, that was pretty violent. That was pretty funny. It's not like that was so violent. It's not like, oh my god, that was like so hilarious. It's like a pretty even, like, it's pretty violent. It's pretty funny.
It's very matter of fact.
Like, you know.
Very matter of fact of just like,
very British.
And, like, being able to laugh at just being able to laugh at things and like using humor to like gallows humor, like you said. Yeah, you got to be realistic about these things. Exactly.
I do love that about Logan. I mean, a lot of them kind of have sayings. Gokta has some too, but Logan has the most like little like things that like little refrains, little sayings. And also, I mean, one of them is not even like a Logan thing that he says, but I love that the repetition of say one thing for
say one thing for Logan Ninefingers. Say
he's a lover.
He's a lover. I love it. Oh my god. This isn't a spoiler. I'll just say the funniest thing ever to me, I think, in the whole series was I love this pool when he's fishing. Baez is talking and like, oh, deep history and these crazy things that happen, and he's just over here fishing in a pool with his hand.
We talked about this a lot too. Is that, I mean, kind of like part of the whole like he doesn't overdo things. Is that like he trusts that Logan is a sufficiently terrifying, violent character that you don't need to worry about suddenly ruining that by making him be kind of goofy and silly sometimes. Like he can be both, and it doesn't make him, actually kind of makes him more scary when he is full on the Bloody Nine, because he is also just kind of a guy. Like he's just a guy.
He's just a guy trying to fish, you know, in a lovely little pool.
I mean, like when they're at the banquet and he eats the flour off the plate, which is supposed to be decoration, and they're like, we're not supposed to eat that. He's like, I don't know. Like, you guys do weird stuff here. I don't know. Or he's like staring at the fountain because he's never seen like a functioning fountain. He's like, where does the water come from? He's like,
what is it? Yeah, he's like a little kid at heart, like really. And oh god, that's the one thing with Before They're Hanged that makes me like love it so much, is because we get to see like that side of him so much. And
I feel like a lot of like grimdark, or the kind of thing that you think of for grimdark, is that a character like Logan is supposed to be, even when he's in the Agrion and has never seen a fountain before, he's supposed to be like, well, who cares anyway? Am I killing someone? Like, what does it matter if there's water? Like, death, my path. And like, who wants to read that?
Yeah, that's no fun. And it would make sense. Like, it makes sense that someone who's never seen this crap before would be like in awe and like, what in the heck?
And I think we get a POV of Glokta seeing Logan looking at the fountain and being like, oh my god, the idiot.
Yeah.
He's just like looking at some guy being like, whoa,
water. I love it. Yeah, just love it all the way around. I don't think I have any other like overall thoughts though. I just the humor, the wit.
Any non-spoiler criticisms? It's allowed.
Like, no. Honestly, like, not. I can't think of anything.
Okay, when I was talking to Elle about Age of Madness, she was like, "Okay, so what about like downsides? What about criticisms?" And I was like,
"None."
So she was like, "I'll come back to you. You have to think of one." And I was
like, I can't.
I'm like, it's sad that it's over.
Yeah, I really truly like. I don't know. The pacing never was a problem for me. Like the plot never was a problem for me. Maybe just that like he does leave some things like kind of like Pharaoh. I don't know, but I mean, I don't know. Also, like I need to read the standalone still. It's all in the same world.
So if you were in my shoes, you know, like you're DMing with somebody and they're like, I'm thinking about starting the series, like, and you're me now and being like, okay, what do I tell you to prepare you so that you don't have the wrong expectation or you're whatever, like what would you tell someone who's like thinking about starting the series?
I would probably make sure that they know that it is very like low magic and like, you know, it is fantasy, but like don't go into it expecting like magic all over the place and like
very little.
This fancy magic system that you're going to learn about, and like that it's not that. Because I think that's a good expectation to have, like to set for people if they do read a lot of fantasy.
I think that was one of the things I said to you. I was like, look, if there's like an ancient artifact, do not be reading this going like, what does it mean? And it's like, it doesn't mean anything.
Jack diddly. And yeah, like the lore and stuff, like you learn a little bit more about the history of the world, but like it doesn't really matter necessarily. Like I would have just because I like that type of thing, like to learn more about that and to like get some answers to think like Baez and his whole deal, and like in the past, like what's the truth of some things. We learned a little bit, but was it even the truth? And like we didn't learn all of it. And like explanations, I guess I would like warn someone that like there's gonna be several things that you don't really get explanation for, and you just gotta roll with it. Like it didn't bother me reading it. Like I said, even like Pharaoh as like a character having kind of an open-ended good luck to you. I don't know what the deal is, where you're going.
Kind of one of the positives of it that I kind of often cite to as for, this is certainly not the only reason, but it's one of the reasons I think First Law feels like such a real world to me, because I feel like it makes the world feel fake when you know everything there is to know, because in our own world, we do not know everything there is to know. So the fact that there's stuff that's like, well, you can't know that, and you don't know that, and it's not clear, that makes it feel like there's just like so much more in this world that is like explorable and out there, and that makes it feel like huge and lived in.
Yeah, no, and like I kind of see it. It didn't bother me, like I said with Pharaoh, because it's like I kind of it does feel so realistic and vivid, and it kind of feels just like a person I met, and then they went off on their way, and I never heard from them again. You know, I don't know what happened to them. Someone I met at summer camp one time, and I remember that person. I don't know where their life took them.
Like, or like again, like stuff about like history, where like a lot of books will like have a person who's telling you the history of their world or the history, the lore of their world, but then that's like not true. And so then there's some contrived way that we can prove beyond a shadow of a doubt the facts of what happened in history. And they're like, aha, so this lore is wrong categorically. And like, I'm not saying that can never be interesting or never be possible, but like for the most part, like we only have what people tell us about history. So if this isn't true, there isn't really any way to know that it's not true. You might wonder about it, but like you kind of only have the word of the people that pass it down to go off of. So like, if like whatever, if you're skeptical in like the world of the First Law, if like people are like, you know, people are training somebody and you're like, oh, this is what your ancestors did, or here's the origin of magic, or here's what the other kings did. It's like, well, you know, maybe that's not true, and maybe these are people that you don't fully trust. But if like, it would be really weird and unrealistic if we had some like arbiter of truth come on to the page and be like, here's the actual truth.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it didn't bother me, but like I would maybe just set people up with that expectation of like there's going to be things that you don't totally get answers to and explanations, but hopefully they're things that you don't like really think about or care.
And I have totally, I understand in the sense of like, I don't feel this way, but I get that other people do say that because the real world doesn't give you those satisfying answers, that's why they do like that in fiction. Not because it makes it more realistic, but because you don't get that satisfaction of this, like, here's the answer in real life. And so in fiction, it's like so nice to get that. And like, I don't really feel that way, but I understand that kind of like I feel that way when I watch like like Agatha Christie murder mysteries. Like it's ridiculous that we always figure out who did it categorically and then they confess. It's like, that's absurd, but it's kind of like that's the satisfaction of like, I'm gonna sit down, someone's gonna die, and then by the end of it, we're gonna categorically know who did it.
Like we're gonna find the answer.
Like a better crime mystery show would probably have more ambiguity, or maybe like they think it's this person, but they don't actually have good evidence and they never confess to it. So they're still pretty sure, but they're not totally sure. Like that would probably be more realistic. But when I'm wanting to watch, like to binge watch a bunch of murder mysteries, like I want the ones where we start with a murder and we end with a confession. Next. I get that.
Yeah. I need a final answer.
Which is when I'm watching Poirot and I turn into Glockdad. I'm like, confess!
Oh Lord. I was also surprised, I will say too, with like how long it took to like actually see some torture. I was expecting like immediately like all this torture on page, but like in the Blade itself, for the most part, he just like bangs on the table a lot and like Frost punches people, and then
they do like chop people's fingers like
yeah, like once,
closer.
but it's barely.
I think
I was just also expecting a lot more like grotesque horror again, because of like the other thing I had read that was like expressly grimdark before, that was like disgusting.
But isn't that like a saying or something or whatever, like from the real world, that like show them the instruments, because like just pulling out the case of instruments that you're going to torture someone with gets the confession, because they're like, no, I'm ready. I don't want you to use any of that on me.
Don't want to go down this route. Yeah, I think so.
So I feel like a lot of Glocta's torturing is kind of like, okay, I'll give you a little poke, but you know, do you want more than that? I don't think so.
Yeah. His reputation precedes him eventually, I think.
Or just like being in a torture chamber where you know that like there's no Geneva Conventions. Like you're like, if they decide to, you know, pull out all the stops, there's something to prevent them.
Yeah, exactly.
And then that I think Glocta does a lot of psychological torture where he says that too, where he's like, the knowledge that if I keep at this, like you're never gonna be able to have children again.
Yeah, messing with people's minds.
Yeah,
for sure.
Like he's like, you could hold out, and then you'll tell me eventually, but you'll have lost.
And then I'll have done.
Or it's like, or you could just tell me now and keep the finger. You know, like you're gonna tell me either way. You may as well do the version where you get to keep
do it now. Yeah, exactly. I'd probably cave. I'm sure I would. I feel like, no. The first time someone punched me in the face, some big, huge dude knocked me out, I'd be like, all right, I'm done.
Like, Glocta was tortured himself. And he's like, yeah, like I confessed to everything. Like, told them things that they weren't even asking. Like, as soon as they go for it, like, yeah, anything to make the pain stop.
Yeah. I feel it.
All right. Well, then let's talk about the Blade itself. So if someone's not read it at all, now might be a good time to dip and go read it and then come back.
Yeah. Hurry.
The Blade itself, we'll warn you before we go into Before They Are Hanged. But the Blade itself, okay, so you've started reading it. You're into it. You're reading it. You're experiencing it.
I was loving it immediately. Like, I'm not kidding. The very first, what was the first?
I mean, the gap of time between you telling me you decided to start it and the first message you sent having started it, that little gap of time there, I was like, oh no. And then your first message was just like, I think I love it. Like, oh, okay.
Yeah. Literally page 2 is the first tab of like something being hilarious when Logan was falling off the edge of the cliff. And it seemed a clever notion to pitch camp near the gorge. No chance of anyone sneaking up behind. Now as Logan slid over the edge of the cliff on his belly, the idea lost much of its appeal. I was just like, that's funny. And then it just continued from there. Yeah.
Did you also feel like inexplicably sad over him having to leave his pot behind?
Yes. Oh my God. His pot.
They've been through a lot together, him and that pot.
He was so attached to the pot. Yes. And yeah, the first time it had something with what his father said. He's always saying stuff like, that's what my father said. That's what my dad told me. When he said, once you've got a task to do, it's better to do it than to live with the fear of it. And I was like, oh, that's a
quote on my phone case.
Oh, nice. I love it. Yeah, that's one of my faves for sure.
Yeah, Glocta's my favorite, but Logan has some great, motivational phrases.
The first introduction to Glocta on page 2 of that chapter, I had another funny tab when he's going down the stairs, and in his head, he's like, truly a thrill. Did I enjoy it? For most people, stairs are a mundane affair. For me, an adventure.
Like, you messaged me that.
This friggin' guy. Yeah, I freaking loved it. And like in this one, Giselle like sucks exponentially more because he's just like so dumb, and he's still very pretentious, wildly classist, and like he's not a big mean brute bully, but he's
kind of a douche.
And he's just like kind of mean-spirited and like judgy and like a little bit of a little twat.
He's not even like mean-spirited, he's just kind of selfish. And
yes.
He's not really trying to hurt anybody on purpose. He just doesn't care if he does.
Yeah. he just and he has like mean, judgy internal thoughts about people from his like elitism and classism and stuff. But
it's like quite casual. It's not like cruel.
Yeah,
He's
it's
like,
not.
ew. They're kind of
Yeah, it's just like a little passing, like,
yeah.
they're beneath me. And you're like,
He's
all
like a little
right.
trust fund kid that you hate.
Yes, yes. Yeah, and so I didn't like him as much, but again, I still just enjoyed following him because even his POV chapters, when I'm like, this guy kind of sucks, though, it was funny watching other people react to him and being like, yeah, you're stupid. And like him being so oblivious. It's like, dude, it's obvious these people don't actually like you. Like his friends, and he's like, oh, they're my pals. And like, they're tolerating you because you like play games with them and like drink with them and just party and stuff. I don't think they actually like or respect you, my guy.
Well, I feel like it's also a pretty good masterclass in writing a character like from the perspective of that character, where they're fully like not great. But at no point when I'm reading Giselle's POV do I think that Joe Abercrombie thinks what Giselle thinks.
Yeah, no, very much. It's very clear that it's like, yeah, this guy's a douche, right? But
even though
Giselle's
you're reading from douche's perspective.
Yes, he doesn't quite get it, but it's very apparent on the page because yeah, like everyone else's like response to him and interactions with him, and like RD, obviously, immediately I was like, I like her. Her reaction to him and just being like, whatever, dude, get out of my face. But then like going along with it like, for fun, like, oh, what else do I have to do?
And like West's reaction to him, because like again, Giselle's like the trust fund kid, and West is like the guy that got there on scholarship, basically. And he's just like, oh, this guy, like I have to like be nice to him, but
but I hate it. Yeah. And also Baez, the introduction to Baez, I like loved Baez initially because he was so funny. And honestly, I don't like hate Baez by the end either. I don't know. But yeah, and this one, like, he was so freaking funny, being so mean to what's his face? Kwai, is it Kwai?
Kwai.
Okay. I didn't know because I didn't listen. But yeah, being like so mean to him. It's like this poor guy. And yeah, he just was like so just like curmudgeonly, I guess, to him. But I liked him initially, and I was very intrigued with like, what's going on here? What's going on with this guy? I don't know.
Well, that whole like twist kind of intro when Logan goes up to the old bearded wise looking man and he's like, oh, you are like the great Baez, and he's like, what? No.
Yeah.
That bald guy with the butcher's knife, that's Baez.
Yeah.
What? And the whole time too that like again, like it's I think doing like a twist on a classic trope or a classic story so often is so aggressive and so unsubtle. And here it's like a lot of little reversals where it's not overdone, it doesn't overstay its welcome. Like you get the guy that looks like Gandalf and he's like, oh no, it's that guy, which is like kind of a funny little moment, but it's not like overdone. And we don't like super emphasize that like Baez doesn't look like Gandalf. Isn't that crazy? And then the way that like usually your hero who's, you know, now meeting with the wise wizard and wants to know his great destiny and quest. And Logan is like, I'd rather not know. Just, you know, if you want me to work for you, sure. Just don't bother me with the details. Thanks. Yeah, I don't care.
Yeah, I loved, like, I was like, that could never be me. I'm way too curious. I need to know answers to things. And like, you're going to take me off on this adventure. I don't know. Where are we going? What's the plan? But I just loved that he was just like, I don't care. I don't care. Just let's go. Whatever. Yep. Freaking cracked me up.
Well, because it's also, I mean, like at the point, like I would agree that I can't imagine that, but I also can't imagine being in Logan's shoes at all and the point in his life where he is. And I think if I was in that position, if his past was my past, I had done all those things, I might also just kind of be like, I don't know, point me at the thing you want me to kill. I don't want to think about it, you know.
Yeah, that's true. That's fair. That is very fair.
And then I feel like that was like the Logan receives, you know, magic sword as like one of the first things, which is why it was really important for me to tell you before you started the series. I was like, it doesn't mean anything. Yeah. It's not going to be this grand reveal that it's like, you know,
it's just a real good sword.
It's not Excalibur.
Yeah. Yeah. Which I didn't mind at all. I do love like lore and cool stuff, but like, I don't know. It didn't Like I didn't care.
Yeah, I just feel like it's really important to either know going in that that's not what this book is interested in doing. And then also, if you really want a book that is doing that, that you want the sword to mean something, you want the lore to be explained, then this is not going to be the book for you. So either be okay with the fact that this isn't going to do that, or just don't read it, because it's never going to do that.
Yeah, no, it's not. And that's fine. That was part of the journey, part of the enjoyable, fun journey. I'm trying to think.
Giselle is, just kind of selfish and stupid.
Yeah.
So you can't like really hate him because, and then that too, he's kind of, especially like by the end of the first book, when I feel like most like peak Giselle hatred is like the first book. But it's also peak Giselle innocence. He has not actually done anything to anybody besides be kind of a douche. Meanwhile, your other characters are killing and torturing and like committing atrocity. And you're like, I like those guys. That douche who's kind of a twat. Oh, hate that guy. You're like, what's wrong with me? That's how I feel.
Yeah. But he just was like you kept saying, he's a harmless idiot. He's just kind of a harmless idiot.
Yep.
He's probably not gonna like hurt anybody. He's just kind of dumb,
oblivious, and conceited.
100%. My hair's turning nuts.
He's basically like, I know we're doing like flipping of tropes and stuff. Like in a lot of ways, the First Law trilogy is the sort of like anti the Lord of the Rings trilogy. You know, it's using like that kind of archetype and the tropes in there and reversing them or making them whatever. You know what I mean? But Giselle is kind of like the jock that befriends the nerd in like teenage rom-coms.
Yeah, I can see that for sure. Yeah,
he has to learn, to look. The beauty's only skin deep, and
he's got to learn all these like basic.
Artie needs to take her ponytail down and take her glasses off so that he's like, oh,
and be like, wow,
you're beautiful.
Yeah,
wow.
That killed me too. How when he started having interest in her. And like talking to her and being like, oh wait, then suddenly all these like pretty princesses
were kind of boring.
Like, we're kind of boring and dumb. But again, he was like unlikable, but like kind of, because it's like how he sees women basically is like, you're only valuable if I find you attractive. And I was like, bro, come on.
Well, like he starts to realize that he likes being around Artie because she's more interesting than these like blonde. Like,
but then turning it around to judge other women who are like,
no, but also it never occurs to him that Artie might think that he's the vapid wallflower. Like, sir,
like, wait, no. But even when he's doing that, even when he's doing stuff or like thinking in a way that I'm like, oh my god, my guy, like, okay.
Or when he does kind of realize it, when he's like, is she making fun of me?
Yeah,
how dare she? But, oh man, it's kind of hot though.
Yeah, he has moments. But he never does anything like bad with these like little thoughts he has or these like ways of seeing the world. Like he doesn't go act in like these crazy ways. He's just kind of a dummy, but he learns somewhat.
A bit.
Yep, a little bit. A noticeable amount, but not.
He just, actually is put in a position to where he can't just be handsome and do nothing. He kind of has to do something so that, has an effect.
Yes, exactly. I'm trying to remember where this one even left off.
It pretty much leaves off with our crew is assembled and we're going to go on a quest. And
Glocta being sent yonder.
But they haven't gone anywhere yet.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
And we have the whole bias showing up to being like, I'm the first of the Magi. I want my seat at the table. And they're like, I don't think so. That's ridiculous. That's what, and I feel like that's one of the things that I like so much about it too, in terms of, because magic is hardly in it, but when it's in it, it's in it. And it's like, oh, that wasn't natural or right. And I feel like it's because it's so understated that it hits so much harder. Because if there's like constantly big magic happening, it's like whatever. But when they're going into the Tower of the Maker and they're all just kind of like going to the Tower of the Maker and everything's fine. And I think we're in Giselle's perspective and he's just so annoyed at having to be there. And he's so annoyed that Glocta's there because he thinks Glocta is gross. And then and Glocta is like freaking out and he's like, oh my God, what's wrong with him? Why is he freaking out? This is even worse. I already have to be near him and now he's freaking out. And he's like, why are you freaking out? And Glocta's like, there were no stairs. And he's like, what? And he's like, look at how high we are.
Yeah.
There were no stairs. And he's like, and then Giselle, who's too dumb to have noticed that, is now also kind of like, oh shit, oh my god, you're right.
Yeah.
Like that is actually really freaky.
Yeah. Yes. I like when Baez goes full magi, it's always like just horrifying, like completely horrifying.
Because he's like mostly this kind of like grumpy old man. And you kind of get lulled into just being like, oh, that's that grumpy old man with all the lore. And then he'll do magic and you're like, oh my god, that's
you're like,
you know, he is the first of the magi.
Yeah. Literally just like bursts of blood, like killing people just in a second.
And just before even the burst of the blood, like when he starts kind of doing magic, the immediacy with which Logan is like, you just feel like unnatural
like
wrongness is happening. Like this shouldn't be happening.
Yeah. It's good stuff. It's good stuff.
So when you finish, or when you were reading The Blade itself, I know that's kind of one of the things about the series, but so did you feel like you kind of thought you knew where it was going, or you hoped it was going, or?
I didn't really have any hopes, I don't think. I wasn't like...
Yeah, that's first law. No hope. Hopeless.
Yeah, no. No, I didn't have any like wishes or dreams for where it was going to go. I had some like maybe theories or like ponderings of like, is it going there? Is it going there? But I wasn't really sure. And I didn't really care. I was curious. Like my curiosity was piqued where I finished this and was like, I got to start the next one immediately yesterday. Like I need to go. But I kind of had no idea. I was just like along for the ride, just kind of going with it. And like, let's freaking see. Oh yeah. It's in this one with West, right? Yes. Correct. When he beats the ever-loving crap out of his sister. And I think that is what, like with West, that why I don't like him so much is because he's so real. For men I've personally known in my very real life who are perhaps great friends, right? Lovely friends to people.
Responsible employees.
Yes, responsible, good leaders, motivating, compassionate towards, their peers. Their fellow man, the people that they're responsible for. And like
worked really hard to get to where they are.
Yes, they worked hard. Yes, they're like all these positive things and they have such a lovely reputation. But internally, secretly, they have something. And
anger management issues.
Yeah, very much so. And in his case, like this very like obvious to me, deep-seated kind of like rage towards women in particular. Who don't behave
in general, but yeah,
rage in general for sure. But like we see it manifested towards women, but then he has this glowing reputation, and he's a good leader.
Well, again, without being this like obvious kind of sledgehammer, making a point about it commentary, he is kind of a commentary on the whole like the nice guy. Why doesn't he ever get the girl? I'm so angry because I'm a nice guy and I never get the girl. He's like, are you a nice guy? Because you seem not nice right now.
Questionable. Yeah. And so like I found him interesting, and it wasn't like I hated reading his POVs. I didn't hate reading any POVs.
Well, similar to the Giselle thing, it's like, I mean, that he's obviously imperfect, but again, if we were to do like a list of offenses or harm caused in the world, the consequence of you existing, he's more on the harm less side. Like he's more from a purely like consequentialist utilitarian perspective. He does less harm than a lot of the other characters, but it's because like again Giselle is selfish and because West is hypocritical that you're like, but those guys. See, Glock is a torturer, but he's self-aware. That makes him my king.
Exactly. Well, and I think like with Logan and even Glockda, like they do terrible things and, torture, murder, horrific violence, but like not because they just like love it. Not because they're like, this is fun times.
I think the Bloody Nine does think that it's fun.
But... The Bloody Nine does, but the Bloody Nine isn't Logan.
But that's true. I feel like the Bloody Nine strikes this balance of being, again, really sinister and terrifying, but also kind of funny. Like the Bloody Nine being like the stuff that he says when he's in the Bloody Nine's perspective, and the whole like, oh, you think you're getting out of this? Like, this is the Bloody Nine. Like, it's like a little bit funny in a really terrifying way.
In a very terrifying way. Yeah, but like he does things when he's the Bloody Nine that he wouldn't do when he's not. You know what I mean? Like when he's fully himself, he wouldn't do those things. And even when he is himself, he's killed people for sure, but because he's a warrior and like essentially a soldier and like whatever, like that's just the nature of their existence and like what they've had to do and like fight all the time.
As he also says over and over again, still alive. Still
alive. And like Glokta does it just because like he kind of just fell into it and like, what else am I gonna do?
Anything else?
Yeah, I'm not fit for anything else now. Like I'm pretty familiar with this. Let's do that, I guess. But it's not like he like takes some sick enjoyment from doing it or anything. He's just like, this is what I'm doing and I'm good at it. So let's keep doing it, I suppose. And he even sometimes like gets out of doing what he's supposed to do and like finds a way to like circumvent the rules and like show mercy in certain cases and then usually regrets it, but
most of your enthusiasm and emotions were reserved for Logan moments, which, allowed. But the scene where Glokta talks to West, and Glokta's been under the impression that no one gave a shit about him when he got back from the war, and is like, screw all y'all. And West is like, no, I came to try to come visit you, but your mom wouldn't let me see you. And Glokta's like, oh, thanks, friend. Sorry, I was so mean about that. Thanks. Like, it's like, oh,
yeah, it's so sweet. Poor little Glokta.
Which is also, I feel like, why when West is like, can you like look after Artie? Glokta's like, yeah, I mean, I was kind of a jerk, so yes, I will do that. I will be your friend, like you were my friend. I will look after your sister. I will do that.
Yeah, I can appreciate that. But yeah, the West's whole thing in this one, and then it got solidified later. I think it was in the next book, right? And before they're hanged with what's her face? What was her name? Cathal. Yeah, it got solidified for me there where I was like, all right, man,
a pattern is emerging.
Yeah, like we see a pattern here for sure, and I don't like it. And yeah, it just, like I said, just it seems
there are worse. I mean, Black Dow is worse, but
yeah, it's too real. It's too real. Yeah. But yeah, I'm sorry, I'm reading the comment. Yeah, a couple of sweet moments. Yeah,
because you're not expecting it. It's like a jump scare with like sincerity.
Like, oh, that was so nice. That was so sweet. I love it.
And then I feel like what he does really well, like even in the first book, even though it's just the first book and you've barely met these characters, I feel like when their POVs start crossing over, it feels like, oh shit, they're like meeting, even though it's just like the first book.
Yeah. It's like, oh they're gonna meet, they're gonna talk to each other.
Yeah, like when you like you've been seeing Baez and Logan and stuff, and you've been seeing Glokta separately, and now like, oh, their POVs are crossing, like we get to see each other like in each other's faces. Like,
yeah, it's very exciting. Very exciting. I
love Glokta's pep talk to Giselle, where he's like, I've been you and better than you. Get it together. Giselle's like, you are gross.
Get your life together. Yeah, Giselle. Oh, geez. Joe has a way to make you love the bastards.
Brother Longfoot. We don't really see Brother Longfoot until before they're which we're about to talk about.
Yeah, he's freaking hilarious. He's like so annoying. He would drive me crazy. If I was on this little quest with him, I'd be like, shut up. Oh my God. But he's
so does pretty much now moving into Before They're Hanged. So again, if anyone's only read the first one, bye. But Before They're Hanged, like that does, it's kind of like this fellowship, this quest group, they can agree on nothing except that they hate Brother Longfoot. That's the one unifying factor.
Yeah, they all hate him,
which I think is like the first bonding moment between Logan and Giselle, when they're not hazing, but like they're being assholes to Brother Longfoot because they've had it, and they kind of like gang up on him. They're kind of like, hey.
We agree. I loved throughout before they're hanged watching like Logan get to be like the kid at heart that he really like is, because he's out from under his reputation. You know, he's not in the North anymore, surrounded by all these people who are like terrified of him, rightfully so. And he's not like fighting some fight anymore. He's like, I'm done with it. And yeah, he's just like, I loved watching him be like, we got to bond together because we're gonna like fail if we don't. We all need to be a cohesive team. And so his little trying to like get people like on his side, yeah, talking to Giselle and like mentoring Giselle kind of, and at first Giselle being like, you leave me alone.
I was gonna say Giselle's like painfully slow creep towards some kind of wisdom, where at first he's just like, this guy's an idiot and he's ugly and he's filthy, and then he's like, oh, he might actually be kind of smart.
Yeah, that kind of makes sense, as a matter of fact.
Have I been misjudged? Is it possible he pretends to be less than he is? Is that a thing a person could do?
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, I loved all of that. And like trying to befriend Pharaoh, which was kind of a fail, but
Logan comes the closest.
Yeah, he definitely comes the closest.
Which that too, and like Pharaoh sticks up for Logan, which Logan was not expecting, and he's like, oh, thanks.
Wait a minute. Yeah. I just loved that. And like the freaking fishing in the pool. Just, oh my God, I can't get over how much I loved it.
I just also live for Pharaoh talking to Baez, because everyone else is like a little scared of Baez, so they won't like push it, but she pushes, and he's like, what is wrong with you? And she's like, answer me.
Yeah.
Like, tell me,
she does. She's definitely less afraid, for sure. For sure. She's so prickly, man. She's just so prickly, which, you know, justifiable. Like, understandably so. I don't think I would trust.
And again, I think Joe Abercrombie does this so well in a way that almost every other book that does this kind of a thing annoys the piss out of me. But miscommunication, like when Logan and Pharaoh miscommunicate, like it's so believable that they like not actually like this is how this would go.
Yes. And both of them, like they don't know how to like have a normal
They're all emotionally stunted and need therapy.
Yeah, they're very emotionally stunted. Like there was not going to be a way that they were going to like, let's sit down and talk this out. Like, no. It would have been weird if they had. It'd be like completely out of character. 100%. Yeah, and man, the freaking ending. I wasn't sure what to expect at all,
because I think I had been like, if you like end of before is when you'll know if this is for you.
Yeah, you had said that, and like Roger had said like that he didn't love the ending, and he said it did something that he just isn't his fave.
Do
it. You should go reread it. Absolutely. But yeah, so I just was like, I had no inclination. There was a few things that like I started to see foreshadowing like a little bit ahead, and like, oh, I think that's what's going to happen here. But with the ending, I knew something was going to happen in the ending that like maybe I would like, maybe I wouldn't, or whatever, or like that would be polarizing for people. I did not expect that though. Just to be a stupid
with all of the messages you'd sent me leading up to that point, I was pretty confident that you would like it, but so I wasn't that worried about it. But like before someone starts the series, I'm like,
I was like,
this is the point where you know.
Yeah, I legit like I was reading it and I was like, wait, what? And then out loud I was like, of course.
Yep. Which is kind of what I feel like. Wait, if this is gonna be like your perfect series, that is the reaction.
That's your reaction.
If your reaction to this is like, what the fuck, dude?
Yeah.
Then it's like, okay, this is not for you. If you're mad that that's what he did at the end of this book, not for you.
No, I found it so freaking funny, especially because like this is all a group. Because a lot of times with like quests, you know, the team that goes on the quest is all like, yeah, gung ho. This was a group of people that were like, I don't wanna. Like, why are you making me do this? Like, I
was tricked. I wasn't supposed to be here at all.
Yeah, they're all like, I would really rather not. You know, I have other things I want to be doing with my time.
Except for Logan, who's like,
Logan,
sure. I don't know where we're going. But
he was the most like, but he wasn't like gung ho. But he was like,
oh no, sure. He wasn't like committed to the quest. He was just like, sure, may as well do this anything else.
I'll tag along. What else do I have to do? But yeah, like, and Pharaoh was like, this was a distraction. Like, this took me off my path, whatever, like wasting my time. And Giselle was totally like, yeah, Giselle's like, I've been tricked. And this was so stupid. I had to be out here camping out and like almost dying for what? And I found it so funny because like there are times I love fantasy and I don't mind a happy like ending, and I like a good like hero's journey every now and then, but like it is kind of a nice breath of fresh air. Like this wouldn't work out all the time. Like all these quests, all these characters go on, and all these books that always work out something happens in the end, and not all hope is lost. Like that wouldn't actually happen all the time. Sometimes it would be a failure or stupid.
Like, I mean, you love watching Against All Odds, the hobbits destroy the ring, and you're like, oh my god, they did it! But then you also love Before They're Hanged, when you're like, it's not even here! What was all this
pointless? And like, it wasn't a quick little jaunt either. This was like months and months.
And months of like near death misery.
Yep.
No one was on board for this in the first place.
Yeah, all for nothing. Oh my god, it was so freaking funny.
We've only talked about the side of it that you love so much, which is Logan. We didn't talk at all about Dagazka and Glokta.
Oh yeah, I actually really liked that also. I did.
I mean, well, and it's not Clash of Kings.
We get Nikoma. What is his name?
Nikomo Koska.
Nikomo, yeah. We get him, and he's a delight. I love him.
Because again, he's a much worse person than West. But
yeah.
Very funny.
Yes, very funny. Yes, very, very funny. And yeah, he was just really, he was like I think also like being paired with Glokta, like playing off of Glokta's, like, Glokta's funny sometimes, but he is kind of more like, I don't know, he seems more somber.
Yeah, it's very much like Tyrion and Bronn.
Yes.
Glokta and Nikoma.
Yeah, like, I'm trying to do things here. I have a job to be done. I just need to do this impossible job. Like, everyone leave me alone. And Costco's just like, I'm here for a good time, not a long time, man.
It's like, hey, you keep the pay coming. We'll keep sort of protecting you.
Yeah, we'll be here. Like,
I can promise you, if someone pays me more, I will stab you in the back, so we're clear.
Yeah, I appreciate that kind of like honesty and like, you know.
Well, I love that too, that like Glokta isn't this like heroic person who's like, you should be utilizing the local labor. They're good people with a great resource, and how dare you? He's more just like, it is really impractical to not use the local labor. You're being so stupid to not use the local labor. We're using the local labor. And like when he has the meeting with the local guy, he's like, don't try to convince me that you care about us. And he's like, I absolutely do not care about you. I could not care less. But what I can tell you is that we will all die if we do not work together on this. I do care about that.
Logic is what I care about. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I found all of that really fun. And how everything played out there with, what's her name? I think someone said it in the comment, Eider or whatever. Yeah. Just all the political scheming and whatever was very fun in that one. And then seeing the freaking eaters and like getting to see that more, they were crazy and terrifying. Oh my God. And just, everything going on there. He was just like completely surrounded, basically, like, from all sides.
Eaters, like, and this is what happens in Blade itself, actually, is when Glokta is investigating because there's a mutilated corpse.
Yeah,
and he's like, this isn't normal. Like, this is like, I'm like, Glokta's not like seeker of truth and justice. He's just like, this is super not normal. I have questions. And when what's his name is like, it was dogs. Dogs did it. And Glokta's like, dogs.
Sure.
Okay, dogs.
Doesn't check out.
Well, they like blast the hole in the wall, and Glokta's like, how? Like, what?
This doesn't make sense. Yeah, and like seeing him there, like, again, showing mercy to, I can't remember her name, but the little girl that was being tortured, and he's like, what are you doing? Like, nah.
He's like, you really think this is the answer to, turns out.
Yeah, she could be my servant. Oh, wait a minute. Should have killed her in the first place.
He's like, son of a gun. They actually had it right.
Yeah. That was the smart move, as a matter of fact.
Like that happening with Glokta is kind of like his version of the quest being for nothing, where it's like, oh, it turns out that thing that I stopped them from doing, which seemed like I was the smart person in the room for doing that, I should have just let them.
Yeah.
They were right.
Let it be. Shouldn't have meddled. Yeah. I loved it. And like watching too in this one, like Baez, I mean, being more like the magic a couple times, like holy shit. Crazy powerful, but also seeing that like, you know, magic is like leaving the world, and like even his like crazy powerful magic, when he uses it, like knocks him out for a hot minute. Like he can't just like
problem with the quest too, when they're like, he's not even like awake on this quest that he organized. Like, why are we doing this?
What are we doing here? Yeah. But like, and oh yeah, when I started being like, Quay's being weird. Quay's being kind of weird.
Well, and they also, it's on the quest that they stop off at what's her name's house and have interesting conversations about family history.
A bit more there. Yeah, gross family history. Heinous family history too. Yeah, we just
another kind.
What?
I said, is there another kind?
I mean, yeah, no. We just like learn more about like that history too, and like seeing like, wait, what's the truth actually here, Baez? I don't think you're giving all the details, sir.
We get West's hero moment of killing that twat of a prince.
Oh God, yeah. Oh,
the best thing West ever did.
Yeah, that was the best thing he ever did for sure. I mean, maybe saving like the army.
Of course, that means he's entitled to the girl for doing it, which no, but thank you.
Yeah, thanks for doing it. He was so annoying. Oh my God, he was gonna get everyone killed, that stupid prince. Yeah, so I was very happy for him to
the way the prince keeps talking about how it's a shame he's dead about Glokta, and they're like, no, he's not dead, he's like working as a torturer, and then like 2 pages later, it's a shame he's dead.
Yeah.
You're like, okay, whatever.
Sir, are you okay? He was not.
You're the future leader of our country. Great. We're in great hands.
He was terrible. Terrible. So much worse than Giselle.
When they have to like try to convince him that like, because he wants to like lead the charge. They're like, no, you actually have the way more important job. Trust us of doing this. And he's like, oh yes, of course.
You're right.
Good ho. Yeah. You're like, oh, you're so useless.
He was completely useless. Yeah. But yeah, then like with Cathil and like fucking West's possessiveness and like feeling entitled to her attentions just because he's not a gross, disgusting Northman or whatever. And like, I wouldn't have minded if he felt like, oh, I liked her. Like, oh, and she doesn't like me. Like, yeah, you're allowed to have freaking feelings. But his like rage at like, how dare she? I was like,
which like again, I felt like such a like, again, instead of just doing like a big monologue about men being like this, the fact that when he asks her, what the heck, why are you like with him and not with me? And she's like, you're too angry. And his response is to get angry. Like, and then it just like ends there. It's like, that's all you need to say about this. Like, you don't need a big, long, like soapbox moment. No. We get exactly what you're saying.
Yeah. We understand. We're familiar. We are familiar. Yeah. And I like just the complexities of all the characters.
But I do love that he gets a nickname. He's a named man in the
North.
Furious.
Yeah, he's a very good leader of men. Like, I still was like, dude, he needs to be leading. When I can't remember his name, the other guy died. The freaking marshal or whatever.
Burr.
Yeah, when he died, and then those other 2 idiots are like, "Whoa, well, we can't go forward now because we need orders." And I was just like, "Oh my God, someone kill everyone else and just let West."
Like, I mean, like you don't want West to be your spouse or any of the spouse of anyone you know. But if we're talking about who should be leading the army, you're like really rooting for like, this guy knows what he's doing. Like, can we just let him do it?
Yes, very much so. Very much so. That was that book. I kind of feel like that's when I noticed that like plot points or like little journeys that different characters were on, they were like all that time when they were traipsing across the country, that wasn't before they were hanged, right? When Cathil and Dogman and like West, they were like kind of lost and like trying to find their way, and they were just like traipsing through the countryside, freezing and everything. And I had a moment of like, in a different book by a different author, I would be so sick of these chapters. I would be like, I don't care.
Are we gonna go somewhere with this?
Yeah, what are we doing? I don't even like this guy. I don't want to be in his POV. I don't care what is happening right now. But I didn't think that. Like, I just had a moment of realization that like there isn't really much going on here, and like this is the type of thing that normally I would be so like over, and I'm not here. I just like it all felt very cinematic and like very vivid. Like I was there with them, like watching this happen. And that is just not, that's like a rare thing, I guess, for me as I'm reading. So,
well, and again, with the whole, like, you know, you gotta be realistic. Like, I think he does a good job. Like, the wars are like brutal and bloody and violent, whatever. But a lot of it is like supply chains and having good orders and clear orders and clear lines of communication. And the fact that the West is like, there's no blacksmith. Like,
what?
Like, this is a big problem. And then he like goes and has to go and get like an incarcerated person to be like, and they're like, well, then I guess it's going to be on you. They're not supposed to leave. He's like, I need a blacksmith. We're going to have a way bigger problem if we don't have a blacksmith. I don't care. He's coming with me. And it's like that kind of stuff. Like, you think of like, again, like when you think of like the Battle of Helm's Deep and like all these kind of grand things, like they're not talking about how like, well, no one brought like horseshoes. Like,
yes,
you got to think about the little stuff.
Yeah, the details, man. Yeah, and it was just fun times. I did wish, I was hoping for Logan and Pharaoh to, I don't know,
work it out,
become a thing, and just
they did,
but to like stay a thing.
Not a happy for now, but a happily ever after.
Yeah, I was hoping for something, some little bit of understanding. And
with Pharaoh,
companionship.
You have to be realistic.
Not very realistic. It was a hope I had, but
he did get that with Giselle.
Yes. Love that. Yep. That was one of those moments, which I think that's in the last argument of Kings, though. Yeah, it is.
But they start to be like, even by the end of before they're hanged, like, oh, like when Giselle gets like really injured and Logan is trying to cheer him up by being like, in the North, you'd be a named man. They'd call you Broke Jaw or something. And Giselle's like, what? And he's like, I don't think I'm improving his mood.
Yeah.
I don't think this is cheering him up.
I'm not making this better. But he tried. He always
like,
tried.
Yeah, now you're a named man. He's like, oh, that's not what you want to hear.
Oh, okay. Well, that would help. Oh, freaking Logan. Well, not necessarily that, but that was also another thing that I told you, that I was like fully expecting to be like grossed out from any sex scenes, and like I wasn't.
Kind of like, well, it wasn't, the mountains shook from the power of their fated orgasm, but it was
just like ridiculous though. Like, I like reading like romance sometimes and like fantasy romance sometimes, and I don't mind a spicy scene. And I don't mind when it's done, like a lot of the time it's not. It's so like ridiculous and over the top. I don't mind it being more idealized and romantic and like, ooh, the passionate, it's so if it's not like some ridiculous, like, yeah, the mountains shaking beneath our passionate love. Like, shut up. Stop. I don't mind a little bit of like,
it's like you want to see a successful quest sometimes, but it's also hilarious when the quest is for no reason. So it's like having a love scene that's like in the most ideal circumstances where everything goes perfectly, everyone's physically fit, everyone is compatible, this is going really great. Sure, like that's a fun thing to read, but also it's kind of funny to read a scene where that's not really happening.
Sometimes it's like this, and it's a little awkward and it's a little clunky, and you're muddy and disgusting. You haven't bathed in who knows how long, and that's how it would go in that case. And you know, it was a thing they did. Yeah, I just was hoping that it would become something, because I love Logan, and I'm like, he deserves someone who understands him, and a
teddy bear of a berserking killing machine.
Yeah, he just needs a hug. Poor little guy.
He just needs a good woman.
He just needs peace. That's what he needs.
If it was just him and his pot, you know?
Yeah, he'd be so happy. Such a happy camper.
And the fish. Yeah. Maybe
yes,
build a little hut
good
by
pool
the
with some fish.
Yeah.
That he can snatch up with his hands.
And then cook them in the pot.
Yeah.
Yep.
Perfect life.
That's living. Well, I think is it at the end of Before They Were Hanged or the beginning of Last Argument of Kings when Logan is reunited with the Northmen? That's Last Argument, right?
I think it might be the end of this one.
But it's either way, it's like right in that.
Yeah, it's right around
either end or beginning, like right in there. And his realization again, or like how he's burdened by his reputation again. Yes. Now he's not just some guy with some people. Now he's the Bloody Nine, Logan Nine Fingers. Like he's supposed to have this reputation and this responsibility and all of the old feuds, like with Shivers being there. And he's like, I know why Shivers is here, and I know what he wants, and I have to deal with that. And I liked it when I was just like on a quest.
Yeah, he got to like be out from under that and just like be his actual like self, like who he is, without having to fight and kill people all the time.
I mean, he was having to fight, but he wasn't doing it as the Bloody Nine.
Yeah. And deserves a night eyes. Oh yeah. Oh, I would have loved if he had a nice little animal companion. Oh my god. But it made me so sad. Like, poor Logan. He just needs a hug. Because, like, he gets back with them and, like, his reputation and everything. But he was initially, like, so excited. And, like, oh, man. He thought Dogman.
Well, he's excited. I think he remains excited that they survived. Like, that's good news. Because he didn't want them to be dead. He's like, great, they're alive. But also, okay, they're alive. But can I dip? Because I don't.
Yeah. And then, in the end, man.
But also, like, when they get, well, Logan's back, so then you have to be the leader of our group. But he's like, no, you were doing fine without me.
Yeah, you were doing it.
I'm not going to lead.
Carry on, please. Yeah, I liked seeing Dogman too, like end up becoming the leader, and because like he just was like, what, me, huh? And everyone's like, well, we respect you and like we listen to you. Like, yeah, you're good at it. And he's just like, I guess, okay.
This reminds me too of the conversation that Logan has in Blade itself with West when he's at that dinner where he eats the flowers, and West is like, oh yeah, I've heard some like crazy stories about some like 9-fingered berserker. Oh, yeah. You're not that guy, are you? And Logan's like, oh, no, I'm not that guy.
Anyhow.
Crazy, wouldn't that be crazy if?
Poor freaking Logan. Yeah, the end of, well, are we into Last Argument? Are we gonna?
Yes, we're into Last Argument of Kings. Okay. So anyone that hasn't finished the trilogy, go finish the trilogy.
Yeah. But we're gonna spoil some stuff.
Yeah, because Last Argument of Kings is the answers book where you suddenly are like, oh.
Yeah, this is what we were doing.
And not only this is what we were doing, we actually were doing something. This whole time when we were just kind of like doing stuff, it actually did mean something. It was actually headed somewhere.
I got so, like, the ending of The Last Argument of Kings made me so sad for Logan.
So we're just skipping right to the end, okay?
I'm just going to go right to the end, yeah. Because that's on my mind right now.
Yeah, I can tell. I
was like, oh, this poor guy, like, he just wants to just be a guy. He just wants to be a dude existing. And he's got all this crap thrust upon him.
Well, you messaged me like, BRB gonna go cry when Logan's like, am I a good man? And Giselle's
like, and Giselle's like, you're the best man I know. And like Logan's just like, oh, I'm like, oh, he's so
bro, kings for life.
Yeah, and he like thinks he's such like a horrible piece of crap. And which I argue he's not at all. Because he wouldn't just like go around killing people if he had a choice in the matter, you know, like that's not like what he is like desires to do with his life.
Or at least not anymore.
Yeah, he's like, I'm sick of it. Can I be done already?
But you're like, once that's your reputation, you're not allowed to change. You are a killer. That's just who you are.
This is who you are. Yeah. If you're around anybody who's heard of you, that's who you are. Like they know
also, like, what trade are you even like skilled for? Like that is your highest skill. You are the most like high level skill at killing.
Yeah.
So you're not you're an artisanal
murderer,
bespoke killer.
Yeah, and like the very, very end, I like screamed out loud. Like, so the last sentence, I was like, what? Oh my God. And then like leaving it like open-ended, and I'm arguing that he lived.
I mean, it ends where it begins.
Yes, because it ends where it begins. And in the beginning, when something like that happened, he lived. So he lived in my head. I don't know if that's true. I haven't read.
Maybe he fell off a cliff and into Pharaoh's arms.
Yes, maybe. Who knows where the heck Pharaoh's? She's dipped.
She just scurried over there to catch him.
Yeah, she ran over there.
Bridal carries Logan into his happily ever after.
Across the threshold, and they live happily ever after in a hut in the woods somewhere, far away. But yeah, no, there were so many things though in that one. And oh my God, the freaking what's the name? Pews? Is that right? Is that no? What's the person's freaking name?
Which person?
It was the guy that was Pike or whatever.
Was Pike. His name? Pike.
Ruse.
Salem Ruse.
Not Pews or Trues.
Yeah. Yeah, that random torture scene from the beginning of Blade itself actually was like really important.
I wasn't thinking about him at all. Like there were other things like Baez. There were moments of like, something is going on here. And then like moments of like, I think I messaged you a little bit before it was revealed where I was like, Baez is like grooming Giselle for leadership, right?
Not only did you say that, you messaged you like, I don't know if this is like really obvious or if I'm really dumb for thinking this at all. So either like there was just no option where you were coming out of this brilliant. It was either super obvious and it's dumb to even point it out, or it's absolutely not what's happening and it's dumb to suggest it.
Super dumb.
There was no option.
Either way,
like, brilliant Jashana has picked up on the subtle hints.
No, I was very like, this could be super insane. Or like, duh, hello, Jashana. But yeah, I was like catching little hints of it. I'm like, he's talking way too much to Giselle about like what previous kings did. And like,
I mean, this is the anti-Return of the King. We have to have a king.
Yeah. And like when he like was going to go off with him on that mission to like fight the rebellion of the peasants. And I was like, why is Baez going though? Like, and like I just was like, this feels something's up here. And then that was revealed. But yeah, the freaking Pike being what's his face, I was like, wait, what the frick?
Yeah, I got like when you're reading about that guy that you like random scene of Glocta torturing some guy, and then way later random scene of West being like, we need a blacksmith, and this guy coming with me. Those are connected.
Yeah. And he was mentioned like a little bit before that, like in passing too. And I still didn't like think of him past that. Like, oh yeah, that guy. Because like Glocta, I think, mentioned him like in his head or something. It was like a little bit before the reveal where it was just
I think he was thinking about, because he sent them to England and like, whatever happened to him, he's probably dead.
And it was just very much in passing, like with a list of other people. And I was just like, oh yeah, I remember that guy, whatever. And then that reveal of like, haha, I am he. I was like, what the frick? Did not see that coming at all, like in any way, shape, or form. And
me every time is that Glocta's practicals betrayed him.
Yeah, that was very sad. That was upsetting.
Poor guy. Not just one of them. It was both of them.
Yeah, not just one. I remember thinking that like as he was going in to like confront, who was the other one that he thought it was? Not Frost. What was the other guy's name? I can't remember.
Severard?
Yeah, when he like thought it was him. And I had a very fleeting thought of like, why couldn't it be Frost though? Like it could be him. Like why are we going so hard with this? And then it was both of them actually.
No one likes you, Glocta.
So sad.
And that too, like at one point when he's once again like been like threatened with death, and then he's not killed. And he's like, maybe the trick is wanting to die.
Yeah,
that's why I keep surviving.
Want it real bad, and it won't happen.
Every time he says threatened to kill him, he's like, "Do it, make my day. I don't care."
Yeah, someone please, for the love of God,
put me out of my misery.
I was very happy that he got like kind of not like a happy ending, but like him and RD.
Yes, my
like this companion. Because when they first met, when Giselle was like trying to go after RD, and she was kind of like, yeah, sure, whatever, man. Like, I'll entertain you for a while, I guess. And then they saw Glocta that first time, and she was like, oh my God, I know you. Chit chat.
Because like she knew him from before. She's one of the few people
from before.
Her and West were the only two that knew him back when he was hot Glocta. And she was like, had like a little girl crush on him.
Yeah.
It's like it's like a monkey's paw situation from like little Artie. It's like if you told little Artie, like she made a wish that someday she'd get to marry Glocta. Well, you did. It just
So
isn't quite how
excited.
you imagined.
But I had a thought, like when they first met, like because she wasn't like entertaining Giselle really at that point, and so I was like, could there was like an inkling here between those two, maybe? But then like she went and like started her little thing with Giselle, so then it just like went out of my brain. But then when they like were interacting again, I was like, they're getting to know each other, they're being platonic friends. I really like that, and I just thought they were just going to be pals. And I enjoyed that too. And they kind of were. I mean, there's not like deep romantic, passionate inclinations there
Not
or
anymore.
anything like, yeah. But being able to like have that intimacy, like,
well, I think, yeah, for both of them, you get this sense like when they start talking to each other, they actually really like talking to each other because like for her, like no one talks to her besides Giselle. And Giselle's, he's not the worst, but he's kind of a twat. And he's like, there's not much to him. And she's smart. And Glocta, he's this like terrifying torturer, and she's like one of the only people that knows him from before, and it just thinks of him as a person. So they get to talk to each other just as people, which they can't really do that with like anyone else.
Yeah, 100%. And I just love that for them. And like that he gets to have someone who like he can have some kind of intimacy with, even if it's just her taking care of him in this vulnerable state that he like never wanted anyone to take care of him. And like, and then when he's like, what does he say when he's like, oh, this feels nice or whatever, and I don't deserve this, and she's like, well, we don't get what we deserve.
Like, people don't get what they deserve.
Yeah, people don't get what they deserve. And I was like, oh, I love you guys. And she just desperately needed, because I mean, she was just spiraling with no purpose and like just no point to her life, she felt like. And so she just was like drunk all the time and being kind of mean. And like when Giselle came back and that whole thing, when she's like angrily screws him and like
Giselle's kind of into it, but also like, whoa.
Being very like, okay, girl, like, ma'am, I think you need to like talk to someone.
And of course, Giselle's true love is Artie, unless there's a princess on offer. In which case,
yes, that killed me. When Baez is like explaining to him, well, you have hundreds.
Keep my options open.
Yeah, I mean, okay, that sounds all right, I guess.
Let's be realistic.
Yeah, that could be cool. Yeah. But yeah, I'm glad that Artie and
I feel like Glocta and Artie again, they can just be kind of real with each other, because when she's being kind of a bitch, Glocta's like, look, if you want to sit here and like get drunk, that's your business, but I'm not going to pretend like that's like a good thing to do. But if you want to do that, you can do that.
Have at it.
If she, he has his like health issues, whatever, and she's like, look, I don't care. Like, like we're together. Like it's fine.
I'm gonna take care of it. Well, and she just, like she said, she's like, I need, like, did you think at all that like I might need this? Like I need someone to take care of. Yeah, I need to be useful. I need to have a point to getting up every day, other than just getting hammered, because that's all she was doing prior to that.
Porridge and honey, better than money. Everything's funny with porridge and honey.
The moment too when he went to her, like I didn't think he was gonna propose, but I just couldn't see him like killing her. So I was like, I don't think he's gonna kill her, but I thought he was maybe gonna send her away, or
you're like, I should be killing you. I was about to kill you, but just like before,
just leave, or tell her that like he was gonna have to take her kid from her and like send it. I don't know. I thought there was gonna be something like negative and like hurtful, but I didn't think he was gonna kill her ever. But I also didn't think it was impossible. Like it could have went that way too. But I wasn't expecting him to like full on propose. And I was like, oh my God, that makes sense. That makes sense. Yeah, let's do this. Let's do this instead.
And when Glocta takes such pleasure in being like, oh yeah, I'm also recently like hitched. Yeah, I think you know the lady. And Giselle's like, oh, I mean, like, I guess I decided against that, but
yeah.
I wasn't gonna pick her, but she's not supposed to pick someone else.
Yeah, not you. Yeah, not disgusting you. Yeah, and I liked seeing Giselle too, though. Like I said, like he doesn't end up in the end being some like heroic, you know, altruistic.
Well, I mean, every time he tries to do something kind of good, Baez is like, knock it off.
Yeah. But then I liked too seeing like him and Glocta kind of conspiring, it seems. Like, I don't know if anything actually happens with that, but like him being like, I want to do some good stuff, but Baez won't let me. And Glocta being like, well, maybe we can find a way to see.
Well, because Glocta too, I mean, he doesn't really like Giselle, but because he really, really hated Giselle before, and Giselle is different from how, I mean, he's not great, but he is not completely the twat that he was when he left.
Yeah.
And he is he just has Riz. And so he just kind of looks kind of royal when he walks around because he just kind of has that vibe. And Glocta's like, I mean, he's kind of got it. Like,
yeah. Kind of works.
West too, when he first sees him, he's like, is that Giselle? Like, he's so kingly. Like, what the heck?
What is this? When I think too, Glocta appreciates because like he is part of it so deeply, but like I don't think he likes seeing like the little people getting trampled upon all the time by these forces that be. And I mean, he's working with them, but like he doesn't like Baez either. He's not like, yay, I'm so on your side. But he's just like, oh, let's survival essentially. So I feel like it was like a moment.
Keep talking.
Oh yeah, I feel like it was just a moment of him like seeing that Giselle like is trying to do something sort of positive and like appreciating that too, and being like, you know what, I could try to help you actually, even if I don't know if anything comes of it. I don't know if that's something I'll learn in any of the standalones or in Age of Madness, like seeing basically like Giselle's legacy as a king and like what happens and how people feel about him and if he does do any good for the little people or not. We'll see. Maybe I won't.
Pretty limited in what you can do. It turns out being king doesn't actually mean you can just do whatever you want.
I love like this year or last year, I guess, really solidified how much I love characters like Baez. I don't not like them like Baez isn't.
We haven't like we've danced around it, but the Baez of it all.
The Baez of it all, yeah. Like this like eternal or long-lived being, whether they're immortal or not, but like very long-lived, living for centuries, if not eternal, who has some kind of power or whatever. There's like some magic. And they're just like meddling or like actual gods. Like there's some books I've read where it's like actual gods walking among us who are like in the background, like behind the curtain, meddling.
Have you read Dandelion Dynasty?
No, but is there an element of this? Oh, sign me up. I love it. Like the Old Guard, the Judas Blossom, and that series. Even Michael J. Sullivan, Legends of the First Empire has an element of that. And I just love it. Like, I love watching them, whether it's for nefarious purposes or benevolent, like whatever it is, I kind of don't care. It's fascinating to me to like watch that.
When you have like the long game and when the game it's not just the long game for like a human, it's like no, like a millennia long game.
Yes.
Oh, have you read this is much more like truly grimdark, but I still really love it. The Ravensmark trilogy.
I don't. What's that?
By Ed McDonald. That 100% has like
the
long game.
I think I've seen you talk about that, right? Ravensmark.
Yeah, it's definitely more.
Oh yeah. It's on my TBR since you talked about it. Probably 12 years
it's like when between like First Law and Ravensmark, I definitely think Ravensmark much more is kind of like what you're thinking of when you think of grimdark, where it's like it's a pretty bleak world and it's like pretty dark. But even so, like it the main character, Ryheld Galhero, he's actually kind of like Logan Ninefingers a lot. But it's just like the one POV, and he's kind of like, you know, this over the hill guy who has a past and he has this job and the job is not great and it's really dangerous, but he kind of has to do it and he like kind of regrets his past. And then there's a lot of like political machination stuff going on, both like magical and non-magical, that he's kind of stuck in the middle of trying to figure this out. Because it's like it feels very like conspiracy, you know, gotta figure out the mystery of the conspiracy while dark magic is going on. So I really love that series.
Yeah, I will definitely bump it up the TBR then, because I just
love like with like First Law, magic doesn't happen very much, but when it does, it's like really bleak and dark. So in the Raven's Mark, the magic's bleak and dark, but there's a lot more of it. So like the Ryhalt's job, basically there's this like toxic wasteland that the vibe is like nuclear fallout zone, but it was a magical like battle event that created this space called the Misery. And the Misery is this like toxic wasteland of magic. But there's like way stations to keep up the doomsday device that keeps the evil magic like Cthulhu like beings away. So that has to be kept up. People have to go to those way stations to like maintain the device. So Ryhalt's job, because you can't use like a compass to navigate the Misery because it's all wibbly wobbly, like messed up from magic. So there's a few people like him that can navigate it and get people across. So his job is to constantly go into this wasteland to get people across to the way station.
That sounds fascinating.
It's really good.
Yeah. I don't know what it is. I just love that, like, that element of like this meddlesome being.
Well, I think that's what keeps it from just being like, oh, this is all just so dark and horrible. Because it is dark and horrible. But it's like, oh, but like, what's going on? Like,
yeah.
And it's like when he starts to realize that is like, what is going on? And why is it up to me to figure this out? How wasn't my problem?
Well, and I just love that Baez, like, and again, I don't know if more is revealed in any of the standalones or in Age of Madness. I would assume there's more Baez in the future, just by the nature of his existence.
Can't get rid of
that. Yeah, you know, he's living a long time. But like, we don't get a lot of answers for like what his ultimate goal is. And he just seems kind of like selfish and like for power. And like, I mean, kind of just because he can is kind of how it feels. Like,
it's just might makes right.
It's like, he's not necessarily like nefarious and like, I just want to take over the world and like screw everybody. It's his like vision. Like he says, like, I have a vision here. But it's like very much like his self-centered, what I think is right. And so I'm going to meddle.
He like absolutely scoffs at the idea of democracy.
Yeah. He's like the peasants making decisions.
He's like, you think they know what they want? And like, it's like when he's talking about like when it's not that you agree with his worldview, but also you're like, but he's not totally wrong. Like, because he is correct that like the median voter doesn't actually know like what they want. And it's like, like
what's going on?
You're not right to then do what you're doing. Like we agreed on this kind of like fun foundational, like how the world is. We very much disagree about what to do about that.
Yeah. How to handle that.
Yeah.
And how to manipulate things. Yeah. So yeah, it's like, he's not like horrible and evil.
Which is again like why it's such a good villain, because he's like a mustache twirling, like I'm going to like do evil carnage and torture for the purpose of it's more like I don't even totally disagree with you. It's just that like
you're
I'm not on board with what you want to do.
Yeah. And like just the self-centered, like one-track minded way that he's going about it too. Like will not hear anyone else's thoughts on anything. Like I know best. Actually.
And in fairness to him, he has been around a long time, so he does have that going for him.
This is
you true. Can see why he would think we're a bunch of children that don't understand.
Yeah. Well, and it's funny too, like seeing him talk about like these great kings and like how wonderful they were, and he's like, I did all of that. Actually, like that was me, as a matter of fact.
All those times I was telling you the kings you should aspire to, I was lying. I did all that. But I think what also it like subtly gives you the clue, or maybe I shouldn't say clue, but it signals to you that if you shouldn't just be like, well, Baez is the ancient wise one. There is no one else that is ancient and wise like him. Therefore, even if it seems unpleasant, I guess he must be right about this uncomfortable truth that this is what has to happen. Because we do see conversations between Baez and people that are, maybe not the first of the Magi, because there's only one of those, but that are also like really powerful and really old, that are like not cool with what he wants to do. And it's like, well, you can't say they're just, a blip on your timeline. They're like on your level more biased, and they don't agree with you that this is what
well, and some of them were there for events that you're lying about, and that are like, this doesn't add up though, actually. He's just like, no,
there was no one else around. You'd have to take Baez's word for it that this is how things have to be. But it turns out you don't have to take his word for it, because there's other people that are like, disagree.
He's spinning a tale, actually. Yeah, it was all very fascinating though, watching all of that and learning about oh my god, names. The changer guy, the one that shapeshifts and stuff.
Oh, Shanked?
Yes. Watching, like, learning the various people.
No, You Were Sulfur.
Yeah, that one. Like, learning about all the people that he was, and like, oh, that was my guy. Oh, that was
anytime
my guy
someone
too.
had what is it? What is it called? When you have, it's something chromatic, but not bichromatic.
Yeah.
But yeah, when you have two different color eyes.
Different eyes, yeah. So that was fascinating too, like seeing all of those reveals and like, oh shit, he was everywhere. All the time. And the very timely kind of thematic thing, I think it was in the last Argument of Kings, when Glocta goes to heterochromatics.
Oh, heterochromia,
yeah. When Glocta goes to the bank and sees, he's like, it says something about, oh god, I need to find it because I have so many tabs though.
Love it.
So many tabs. When they go to the bank though, and he's like noticing that they're probably like killing people's dreams, and like, but with a simple like sign of a signature on a piece of paper, you're like taking out someone's whole family, their livelihood, and like they might die and starve now because you deemed it so. And his like commentary about that, I was reading this at the height of Luigi Mangione, and I was just like, timely.
Well, see, okay, so he wrote this trilogy before this happened, but they were coming out at the time of the banking crisis. And so everyone was like, he's clearly commenting on this. And he's like, I wrote it. I mean, obviously, like, an intelligent person was observing trends, but like that hadn't happened yet when he wrote this. And it like seemed to like obviously be saying something about that. He's like, no, like not on purpose. But okay.
Oh Lord. Yeah, it's always very timely. But yeah, I liked that too. And then seeing that Baez is behind the friggin' bank too, everything.
I mean, that's really like the punchline of this series is that like, you know, okay, dark wizardry and evil magics, that's all well and good, but the real power is money.
Yeah.
Like this great wizard that has this like this terrifying magic power, his real power is owning the bank.
Yeah, that he runs the show financially for
and then over thousands of years he realized that this is the most effective way to control people. It isn't being woo-woo wizard guy, it's
controlling their money and financing whatever you want. Whoever you want.
And the way that like over the course of the series, like the first time you hear the banking house of Valentin Balk, you're like, sure. And then you hear it again and you're like, that's that bank again. And then Glock is like, that's that bank again. Why is the bank giving me all of this money? What the heck? And then by the end of it, like Valentin Balk is like Voldemort.
Yeah.
The banking house of Valentin Balk. Oh
no. Everyone run. Yeah, it's so fascinating. I also liked too, and I know you said he was like influenced by like Song of Ice and Fire, right? And
mainly in
the King of the North.
In the terms of like fantasy doesn't have to be hero triumphs, Aragorn returns as king. Like it can be kind of more gray and dark and noir. Yeah.
And bleak sometimes. But yeah, seeing like Logan being named like King of the Northmen and all this stuff, but like so begrudgingly and so just like going with the flow and just like, I guess, sure. But yeah, it didn't last very long.
But Giselle and Logan both become kings. Yeah. Bro kings for life.
It's crazy. So crazy. That would have been so fun. Like them being, because they had a nice little camaraderie in the end. And he respected him so much.
Which again, it also would have been nice for Giselle to keep West as like on his, you know, the payroll, so to speak. Yes. So unfortunately that also is not gonna happen. Yeah. He only has
that was open too, right? Like, I mean, it was pretty kind of apparent that he was gonna die, right? Yeah. But slowly, kind of
really awfully.
Yeah, really terribly.
You're like,
I would say I was a little confused. Maybe not confused, but again, there's just not that many explanations for things. Like that whole like the plague, the magical illness. That was just from Baez and what he was doing, right?
Collateral damage. And it's one of those things where like West has been in so many battles and so many violent altercations, and then this is how he goes out. Is like it's kind of the equivalent of like the you don't die in the nuclear blast. You die from like radiation sickness after the nuclear blast, slowly and painfully.
Yeah. He tried. That whole thing though was cool, seeing Giselle again, like trying to be the good guy, and like, no, I can't be a coward, and like, and afterward, like going and helping to like.
And Bias was like, "What the heck are you doing?
Yeah,
are you putting yourself in danger? You idiot!"
Yeah.
He's like, "I was being heroic." It's like, no, stop
it. Yeah, poor Giselle, poor everybody.
Just married to a woman that despises him.
Yeah, she hates his ass.
It's like it's so many like monkey's paws where like, you know, you got to marry the most beautiful princess. Everyone was like, I mean, she's not a princess, like what, she's like a duke's daughter, but you know, like the most beautiful. And you're like, well,
she can't stand you, as a matter of fact.
She can't stand that, you know, your whole sex.
Yeah. She wants nothing to do with you whatsoever. And that poor girl too, like, geez. Just all these characters, man.
But also you wanted to shake her and be like, girl, you need to talk to Logan Nine Fingers. You have to be realistic. You are married to this man. You are expected to produce heirs. How do you think how this is gonna go? Like,
this is the deal. This is your life. I know it sucks and it's not fair, but life isn't fair.
It's like, again, Galactic goes about it in as torture-y a way as possible.
Yeah.
But like, he's not wrong when he's like, girl, like, what do you think is going on here? Like, you need to shape up or ship out, because you are the queen. There are expectations.
Yeah. Not saying you gotta be in love with this dude, but you gotta do something.
He's like, God knows.
At least a couple of times. At least a couple times we gotta get some airs going. Come on, let's go. Yeah. I found it so like funny too that like Baez had this whole long game of like putting these, you know, babies here and there, and like, oh, I'll come in and take them. And then like the reveal that like, oh, you weren't the only one either. Like, if you don't want to act right.
Like when Baez has the luxury of centuries and millennia, then he can just constantly be kind of like putting things in place, kind of diversifying his portfolio, where he's like, I may need this at some point. So let me just go ahead and like put some stuff in place that I might come back to. Maybe not. We'll see. Doesn't matter.
Yeah. And like the initial like story about like his true parentage, I was like, is this true? Like, that's okay. All right. I guess that's true. And then Baez being like, no, that was a bunch of BS. I don't know who the heck your parent, who cares?
Well, because like Giselle was like, I'm the king. And he's like, I'm sorry, you believed the bullshit that I said? Like, oh, poor baby.
Who was his friend? There was like one of his buddies that was like another option. I can't remember who though.
Yeah.
That he named. Baez was like, there's another one, something or other. And I was like, oh, that was one of Giselle's like pals too, that he knew was like another baby.
Yeah, basically Baez showed up, was like, I took a look at my options. You like had the Riz. So I was like, him. I'm gonna go with him.
Yep. He's good with a sword and stuff. Let's go.
I cheated to make sure you won that little fight, so that I think that's the name of the chapter too in Blade itself, about how like you should never bet against a wizard, because like as soon as he made the bet, like obviously he was going to do that anyway, which you don't know at the time why he would have a stake in that, but he would want Giselle to win. But yes, of course, as soon as Logan made that bet, let the Wookiee win.
I'm trying to think of what other like reveals and stuff.
There's Ptolemy being Kwai. And there's Pharaoh and the Seed.
Oh yeah. The
Seed was there the whole time.
It was there right in front of their friggin' faces.
Yep.
Oh, it cracked me up.
And Kwai was Ptolemy for most of the runtime.
Yeah. Well, and like that, I think that, like I said, maybe a qualm would just be Pharaoh and like her end being so like, huh? And like open and just like, all right. But that's just because I was so curious about her, but not.
It's because you were still waiting for the happily ever after with her and Logan.
Not even a happily ever after, but just like some kind of conclusion of like something, or like even like knowing exactly what she's gonna do. But like we were saying, you know, that's not realistic.
At the end, she's just like tweaking.
Yeah, she's like losing her mind for sure, and then just like. I remember messaging you being like, okay, I'm a little confused. Like, was that like the magic or what? Like, because she like, it seemed like she like flew out of town, literally almost. And like, there was like the ice that was following behind her when she traveled across the bridge or something. And I just, that whole thing, I was very like, wait, what? What just happened? And then she's just gone. Okay. But, you know, that, like I said, that happens in life sometimes. We never see people again and don't know what happened to them.
Go off a cliff.
Yeah, basically. Yeah, I hope I get some answers to...
Dogman made it. That should make you happy.
Yeah, Dogman made it. I love that for him. I love that for him. But yeah, but he has to like be kind of like an ambassador or whatever. And he's like, what? I gotta stay here in this stupid place. I love though, oh my God, at the end, like he's such a loyal pal to Logan when the one guy, what was his name? Red Hat or somebody is like, oh, that Bloody Nine, he's a crazy bastard. We hate him or something. He's talking shit. And then Dogman is like, hey, shut up, dummy, and like tells him off and gets all like, even though he's thinking the same thing right before
he's
that.
My dumbass.
Yeah, he's like, he's my crazy bastard. You don't say shit. Shut your face. And I was like, what a good friend. Good pal there, Dogman. Yeah.
I love how people are not at all like, it's like the same thing with, but no one was willing to believe Bias is the first of the Magi. No one's willing to believe that Logan is actually the Bloody Nine. They're like, oh yeah, this legendary killer. Oh sure, yeah, okay, I'm sure every guy who's missing a finger is suddenly the Bloody Nine. He's like, nobody really is the Bloody Nine.
It actually is, and you don't want to see it. Run away if you see it.
When you realize you were wrong, it'll be too late.
Yeah, it will be far too late. God forbid you touch him or look at him.
Unless you're Pharaoh.
No, yeah, exactly. No one else can touch
the magic touch.
Yep.
So satisfying ending to the trilogy.
I would say so.
It does pay off.
Yeah, for sure. Like I thought there were plenty of like reveals and like, oh my God, no way. Like even before the last book, like there was still even before then, like learning new things and like realizations and.
It is really satisfying having the Glock to Baez conversation where he's like, oh, you stumbled so near to the truth there the whole time.
Yep. So close. And then he becomes his kind of right-hand man.
Yep.
Carrying out his wishes.
Yep. He gets the boss man's chair now.
Yeah. Yeah, I need to restart. I don't know if I'm going to restart Best Served Cold or not.
How far did you get?
Like 40%. I might like go back just a few chapters.
Like where in the plot?
Oh, what they were on their way carrying out the vengeance plan.
That's the whole
they had gone to the bank. They had gone to the bank.
Okay.
Things had happened there. And that's like it was like a little bit after that. But that's like the most recent thing I remember, I think. But
well, that reminds me too. I feel like that's another thing in First Law where the thing with Shivers is set up as like a this is gonna be like a big thing, and then it kind of isn't because Shivers is like, yeah, I'm supposed to want revenge, but like,
yeah, what is it gonna do? I don't really care. It's not gonna change anything. Which I can appreciate. But yeah, very sad.
In other books, they would build up to this big thing and there'd be this like big blowout between Shivers and Logan. But instead, everyone's kind of like anxious about it because like it's kind of the elephant in the room.
Yeah.
But then ultimately it's just kind of like,
yeah, it's whatever. It's whatever. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I gave all 3 books 5 stars. So I couldn't stop reading. Like it's not normal for me to sit down and read like 100 to 200 pages in a day. Like that is just not the type of reader that I typically am. And I wasn't necessarily reading that much in one sitting, but I just like I'm like, I gotta read more. And like, I would easily read at least 100 pages in a day. And there were a couple days where I read like 200 pages and I just didn't want to stop. I was just so like in it. It felt so vivid and cinematic. And I just loved so much of the thematic elements to it. And yeah, I just
got away with words.
Enjoying hanging out with these characters. Man. Yeah.
Well, that's why I mean it's a comfort read to me because I just like hanging out with these characters that I know so well. And that's why Before They Are Hanged is my favorite, because when you're rereading it, the first and the third ones. Like the first one is introducing you to everything.
Yeah.
The third one is like, here's what it all means. But you already know everybody and you already know what it all means. So Before They're Hanged is just hanging out with the characters.
Just kicking it. Yeah, I could see that.
I mean, I'm like, that is where we get the pool with the fish. We get You'd Be Called Broke Jaw. That's where all that stuff happens.
Yes. Yeah, I'm hard pressed to like put them in any particular order right now, but I could see that on reread, like that one. And like, as far as like, if I'm just looking at Logan Nine Fingers, Before They're Hanged is my favorite because of how like much more free he gets to be, and like just watching him be like a kid at heart and like trying to bring the gang together and like let's be friends. That'll be better for us, right? And like trying to make his little attempt at friendship with everyone. I'm like,
let's make it a real fellowship. Come on,
guys. It's so sweet. And it's practical too. Like he's doing it for practical reasons.
Yeah.
But like it's so sweet watching.
It's like a second chance at like having camaraderie because he didn't get that before. I love how angry Giselle is that the fancy coat that he bought is like not even waterproof, and Logan is like bare-chested, like it's raining, and Giselle is like wet and miserable and angry, and he's even angrier because Logan's having fun, and that makes him madder. The same thing when he's like kind of feeling kind of positive towards Logan, and he's thinking to himself that he's like, oh, Logan's actually kind of okay, and then he realizes that what he's hearing is Logan and Pharaoh, and he's like, oh, the audacity! Ew! What is wrong with you?
Oh, freaking Giselle. He's a trip.
You can't hate him.
No, you can't.
He's an idiot, but he's our idiot.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, definitely can't wait to continue, though. And
are you enjoying? I mean, I know the audio was like keep holding you back, but Master of Cold is still got it.
Yeah, no, I was still enjoying it. Yeah, I just needed to like pause because I kept having to rewind, and I just felt like I wasn't like being able to get as like gripped by it, but I was liking what I was reading and everything in the characters. So I was like,
more Casca.
Pause. Yes, definitely more of him for sure. But yeah, I don't know if I'll restart it. I might restart it. I might just jump back to like 25% or something and like go from there. We shall see. But yeah, I can't wait to get to Age of Madness and just read it all.
4 books before you get there.
Yeah. I'll get there eventually.
I mean, at this pace, I'm expecting you're starting a little hatred in February.
Well, I've taken a break for a second to wait for those physical books to get here for the standalone. So
it's true. It's literally the speed of shipping is the speed of your reading.
Yeah, pretty much. Pretty much. That's the only reason we have a pause is because I have to wait for them to get here.
You could get them on Kindle instantly.
Yeah, I know, but I wanted the physical. The big floppy.
Yes, the big floppy
paperbacks. They're so good.
I don't the US covers for Master of Cold, the paperbacks, like I don't like it nearly as much as the original. Like this is what Monza looks like.
Oh, what the frick?
Original.
Yeah, I don't love that cover design either. I do not. Yeah, I got I think just like the standard ones that look like paper.
Oh, the UK ones?
Is that what they are? Maybe. Yeah, those, but paperback.
Yeah, that's UK.
Yep, that's what I got.
I have them all.
I see.
Oh, these are in Russian, which I do not speak. But I got them
because they're cool.
Because the like naked book on each one is illustrated.
Oh.
So
it's just
this
whatever.
one is
fun.
This is the house of the maker when they go. This is like Glokta and
oh, that's cool.
And then going into the house of the maker.
Nice.
And I think it's Logan in the big fight in the duel. Is the last Argument of Kings one. I forget what Before They Were Hanged is on the quest. I think it's Logan and Pharaoh. Yeah. Logan and Pharaoh and Giselle and the whole troop.
Oh, how fun. Love it.
Yeah, that's really cool. Baez.
Look at him. Look at him there.
You know, I mean, he's exactly how I picture. I've seen people fan cast Graham McTavish as Baez, and I can totally see that.
I don't think I know who that is.
He's a Scottish actor. He's in a bunch of stuff. Yeah, this is the last argument, the duel.
Oh yeah, I know who that is. Yeah, okay.
The Feared.
Oh, that's
who's pretty terrifying.
Yeah, very terrifying.
I do love that how, like, again, it's like subtle magic with the Feared and his like enchanted arm and whatever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's cool. Oh, someone's asking what you thought of Red Country.
What I thought of Red Country?
Yeah.
It's my least favorite first law book because it's a Western and I don't really like Westerns. So like it's my favorite Western because it's first law, but it's my least favorite first law because it's a Western. But I did bump it up to, I think, 4 stars from 3 because I realized on my like third or fourth read of it that like 80% of my favorite quotes of all time from first law are in Red Country. And I was like, I just don't really like the story that much, but like the best quotable quotes are in Red Country. And when I was reading it, I was like, oh my God, because like there had been a gap of time between my reads. And I was realizing that all these quotes that I had screenshotted and sent to people, that they kept popping up in Red Country. And I was like, oh my God, that's from Red Country. Oh my God, that's from Red Country. Oh my God, that's from Red Country. I was like, they're all in Red Country. I was like, all right, I'll give it 4 stars.
Nice. Understandable. Yeah, I'm very, very anxious to get to Age of Madness. But I want to read all the
no business being as good as it is. It's ridiculous.
I can't imagine like liking it more.
I know. I mean, because the standalones were out and then he had done other stuff and then it was announced that he was going to come back to the first law with A Little Hatred. Yeah. And I was like, I mean, obviously I'm going to read it. But I was like, are we just doing this because we've run out of ideas and we're just going to be like, well, I'm sure I could squeeze out another first law book. And then I read A Little Hatred and I was like, oh my God, this is so good. I was like, I'm so sorry for thinking this would just be kind of like, ugh, another first law book. I was like, this is so good. But I was like, you can't keep that up. And then I read A Trouble with Peace and I was like, that's even better? Excuse me? And I was like, okay, but you peaked. There's no way that you keep up with this. And then I read Wisdom of Crowds and I was like, it's better. How is it better?
So excited. I just want to read it now.
But yeah, it's rare that a second trilogy is better.
Thankfully not out of ideas. I do also
we were talking about this in the World Hoppers video, but Abercrombie is also an author that, you know, he could rest on his laurels. Like he could just squeeze out a first law book that's like, well, it's what people, it's the stuff people like, more of the same. People like it, people will buy it. But he personally is like, I know I can do better. I know I can do different. I want to challenge myself to do something. And so that's why A Little Hatred and the new trilogy is better, because he personally just is interested in improving his craft and expanding what he does.
Which we appreciate.
Because like he's really negative about the original trilogy and how like not feminist it is. And he's like, I was so proud of myself for having like a lady that drinks and is kind of brash. I was like, wow, I really blew the doors off on this whole like feminism thing. He's like, I could have, you know, probably been a bit better with that. So like in the new trilogy, there's a lot more female characters that are like prominently featured because he like consciously was like, I can't just default just being like men of violence and also other men of violence, just the whole cast.
I'm so excited. All right. I just saw the comment about Robin Hobb. I read Assassin's Apprentice a couple years back. I did not enjoy it.
Did you ever try? Because, you know, it's like the flip-flop being like the parallel series, because there's like the Buckkeep stuff. And then there's
I've heard things from people talking about all of like the Realm of the Elderlings that I don't think it would be my jam. I just don't. It sounds like it would be too like it just what I've heard, and like, you know, friends I have who the excerpts I've seen them talking about it and like knowing my taste and stuff. I think it would read to like trauma porn to me, like.
Yeah, it does tend that way sometimes.
Emotional manipulation by the author, like just like sad shit just for the sake of sad shit, I think is how I would perceive it. And and some stuff towards the end that I asked for spoilers about because one of my friends was talking about it. I'm like, wait, what are you talking about? And things I don't think I would like very much. So
that's totally fair. I definitely think it kind of dwells on things in a way that it's like the best possible version of that. It's like very well done, but it is still that where it's like we are dwelling on this like psychological and emotional pain in a way that is not strictly necessary.
Yeah, I don't think I would like it. So it's one of those. And like I said, the Assassin's Apprentice, like there was like a whole freaking subplot part that I was like, what the heck was the point of that? That was nothing came of this and didn't need to be here. Like, oh my God.
And like even though Robin Hobb's books are not shelved in grimdark, I feel they are much more kind of like difficult emotionally and much more depressing to read. And part of it is that the POVs you're reading from, like the stuff that's going on and that's happening to them, it's like, on par with something that's going on in First Law in terms of like the actual events, how bloody they are, how painful they are, whatever. But the thing is, like the characters in First Law are kind of cynical assholes that are like, and I'm once again being harmed. And yep, just should have seen that coming.
Cool.
Whereas the characters in Robin Hobb books are like hopeful, naive, do-gooder type people who are like, how could this happen? And you're like, oh God, this is miserable. Like, when something terrible is happening to Glokta, you're like, something terrible is happening to Glokta, but Glokta's like, oh, just kill me. Whereas when you're like a young kid whose father is beating him in Robin Hobb books, you're like, oh God.
Yeah.
It's not that like the violence is worse than the violence that's being enacted on Glokta. It's that the POV you're reading from is so much more shocked and horrified and emotionally scarred by what's going on that you, the reader, are now shocked, horrified, and emotionally scarred instead of like, life be like that.
The trauma is more real. Yeah, and I just don't love that. I just don't love like wallowing in just this sad, terrible. And like I said, I think just from what I've heard, I think I would be one of the readers that would feel like, okay, this is just trauma porn to me. So yeah,
there are definitely times where it definitely kind of gets into that
leans that way. Yeah, and I am simply not a completionist. So
there's also 16 books.
Yeah, reading through all of those to get to that, and like, no, thank you. No.
Yeah, it is an emotional roller coaster of a 16 book series.
Yeah, and I wasn't gripped by the first one enough to like even try the second one. I was like, I don't care. I'm not the author for me, it seems. So that's fine. All these like big, like the main ones, I just don't like.
First Law.
Except for First Law, yeah. First Law is like the one.
And A Song of Ice and Fire.
Yeah, even though I would say I like First Law better than I like the show Game of Thrones, exponentially.
But also, don't you think First Law would be a really good show?
Yeah, absolutely. Oh my God. It'd be so good. It'd be so good.
I think it would be ideal if it was like limited series, like 6 episodes per book.
Yes,
like, that's enough.
That would be good.
Yeah,
a Penguin style kind of 60.
Oh, the show. I was like, the publisher?
No, the show. Which I love. Oh my God, so good. Yeah, First Law is one of the ones for me.
Have you read The Gentleman Bastards?
No, I haven't. I've never tried it.
You would like it.
But isn't that like open? It's not finished, and we don't know when it's gonna finish.
It's really good.
I don't want to sign up for that.
Song Like Fire is also unfinished.
Well, yeah, but
and Scott Lynch is a lot younger than George R.R. Martin.
Probably in better health. Also,
not maybe mentally, but
that's neither here nor there. No, I'm just kidding.
That's not important for an author, right? Just having good mental health.
Yeah. Right. Seriously.
That's also good about Joe Abercrombie, is he writes his trilogies in one draft and then kind of like edits them like as they're coming out. So it's like it's not like totally ready to go. Like as the first one comes out, he's still like, fixing it up to make it ready to go. But it's like pretty much like locked in. He knows where it's going. He's planned it. He's able to like reference stuff in book 1 that he's doing in book 3 because he's written book 3 already.
Yeah.
which I'm like, I love a disciplined author that does this.
Michael J. Sullivan does that, but he like finishes them. He won't like put out the first book until the whole series is like complete. Yeah. And it's weird to me that I like Michael J. Sullivan and I like Joe Abercrombie. They're very different in their thematic and like the stories they're telling. Because the Michael J. Sullivan has like the hero's journey and like the good guys doing good guy stuff. But also has like history.
Sometimes.
Yeah, it's nice. It's fun.
I mean, First Law couldn't be a commentary on the default if you didn't have the default.
Yeah, exactly.
This is my big complaint about like Robin Hood movies is that every Robin Hood movie is like some twist on Robin Hood. It's like, but we don't even have a normal Robin Hood movie. Like no one even knows what we're twisting.
Yeah, do Robin Hood.
You know what would be a big twist is doing a normal Robin Hood movie. That would be a fresh idea.
Just do that.
But some gratitude for your public service.
Oh, nice. Yay. Love that. I probably need it because I did one originally like in 2018 and then they like changed a lot. And so I did like an updated one.
They did it because you did a video.
Yeah, in like 2021 or something. And I haven't done, there's like new features and stuff.
Which is funny because if you had done a video on Goodreads, nothing has changed.
Yeah, so. Nothing would have changed ever. Yeah.
That's locked in. That's a 20-year evergreen video.
That's what it is. Yeah, Storygraph is the best. I love it. I love it. Well, yeah, I'm glad that I do enjoy one of the big adult fantasy faves.
It's no longer an elephant in the room when you talk to me.
Yeah.
You're like, yeah, I know Lana First Law. Maybe I'll try it someday.
Yeah, whatever. Tried it, loved it. Let's go. Ready for more.
Friendship saved.
Yes, friendship saved. We have like those random couple of books and series that we both love.
You like Greenbone too, right?
Yeah, we both like Greenbone. The Dark Descent of Elizabeth Frankenstein we both liked, right? And I Darken the Conqueror Saga, which I need to reread. Man, I've only read it the one time. And I need to reread.
Those are like both my examples always of these, like you can do like a feminist twist on something and make it good. I've seen it done.
Yeah.
Kirsten Weiss.
Awesome. Yeah.
But then she did that Guinevere one, which was terrible. So
yeah, I read the first one and I kind of liked it. But then I read the second one and I DNF'd it.
Didn't like the first one.
Yeah. I enjoyed the first one, but like I had issues with it if I remember correctly. It wasn't like some 5 stars or something.
The Dark Descent. That was 5 stars.
Yeah, that was really good.
Are there any other like big fantasy series though that we?
Do we both? I don't think so. I mean, we both don't really like Sanderson, so
we both don't like Wheel of Time.
I don't like. Yeah, I can't do that.
Have you read Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell?
No, but it's one I want to read.
Have you?
I tried it a couple of years ago.
The new re-release edition.
No. I got it from the library a couple years ago and I started it, but I was like not in the right mindset at the time, so I stopped.
This is the new like anniversary edition.
That's so pretty.
And I think the naked book is pretty. No, it's just green, but it does have like cool end pages.
That's really pretty. Yeah, that's one that I think I'll like, but yeah, I was not in the right like mindset for it and I was like struggling, so I just like DNF'd it at the time, but like it's still on my TBR. I still want to try it some other time. I think I just need to buy a copy so I don't have it like to get.
Well, until they re-released it. I mean, I do have a hardcover of like the original, like the black one, but like those were out of print. So if you wanted, it was just like the mass market. Or then I think they were selling them. I don't know if it was in the US too, but for sure in the UK they did that thing of like it's one book they split into separate volumes because it's so long. I think they do that with Way of Kings in the UK, right? Where they sell it as like 2 separate books because it's so chunky.
Probably. Couldn't tell you. Yeah, I wish I had tried First Law years ago also.
Well, we had talked about this too, about how like if you're a much younger, less cynical person who hasn't like you have to have like had a job you hate in order to read Glokta and be like, yeah. Like if that's never happened to you, you're gonna be like, well, this is just like miserable and depressing and he's kind of a jerk. But if you've been in that situation, you're like, yep, that's so true though.
I feel like you had to have had some significant time as an adult responsible for yourself and
as
just
a citizen of this super imperfect world.
Yes, paying bills, living in the world, having life just throw crap at you.
Dealing with people who are above you that are not very competent.
Yep. Yeah, I think so. Oh, Stormlight is split in the UK. That makes sense because they're so long.
Oh
yeah. They did. Yep. Because I had bought the box set, the like UK box set of A Song of Ice and Fire, and then I unhauled it since I didn't really. I was like, I'm never rereading this. Oh my god, no, thank you. Swear to God. But I love Fire and Blood, and I've read that twice.
I love Fire and Blood. I had so much fun reading Fire and Blood that I did not expect. Like, I expected it to be good quality, and I expected to read it and kind of admire it. But I was having so much fun reading it. I was like,
there's so much crap that I'm like, wait, I need to know more about this. Wait, what?
Well, it also does that thing that we've just been talking about for First Law, where it's like, oh, it feels more real because there's unknowns. So stuff in Fire and Blood where they're like, well, no one knows what the letter said. No one will ever know what the letter said because it got burned. And so we can guess. There's some theories, but no one was in the room where it happened. So we'll never know.
Like, oh, I need to know though.
But that's what it makes it feel like a real history book, because like that is what it's like reading a history book where they're like, you know, that part of history, that record is lost. So like historians can do a guess. There's different arguments for what it probably was, but we don't actually know.
Yeah. Who's to say? Fascinating.
Yep. Well, I'm so glad you liked it. You're going to have to continue to keep me posted about.
I definitely will. I definitely will. Absolutely.
And I was getting worried there. I mean, I'm glad to hear you're rectifying the situation, but I was like, I think she started it, and I have not been bombarded with daily messages of like, this is so great, this is so funny, this is my favorite. So, ruh-roh.
Yeah, no, that's why we put it on pause to get the physical.
Oh yeah. So you already answered. Yeah, I mentioned this earlier. I don't actually know how much. I would be really surprised if you like adored it because it's kind of dry. But there's a lot of things in it that I think are things you like. So it depends on like how patient you're willing to be with it, because it is a little dry. Yeah. But again, like the sort of like old gods controlling stuff and the like, there's kind of a lot of sort of this whole of like having the knowledge and actually like learning what it all means. Like there's more of that, and like the whole history, like who tells the story, the perspective, you know, that's telling it is like really, you know, a significant like theme in it. So there's a lot of stuff in it that would be your jam. I just don't know how patient you'll be with how.
Time will tell. We shall see.
I think the like cultural historical stuff in it is like so good, and I have no problem with that whatsoever. Like getting through that is really interesting, but it spends an equal amount of like detailed attention on fantasy engineering. And it's really cool because like as far as I know, Ken Liu like actually like tested that stuff out and like it would work. Like the stuff he's describing, like it's not just like woo complete nonsense. Like he's talking about stuff that like is theoretically possible to do. So he spends a lot of time talking about like the mechanics of it all. And I'm like, I respect this a lot, but I don't care about this at all. So like it's super cool you did that. I don't care.
Good for you. I don't need it. That's so funny. That's too funny. Yeah, I probably wouldn't care about that either, but I do love the history stuff.
Yeah, I love the fact of the fantasy engineering, but I'm not super interested in reading about it. There's a part in the book, in the third book of the Dandelion Dynasty, that everyone, like 99% of people who read it, they hate it, and I love it. It's because it's this kind of like side quest tangent thing but it's not like really engineering related. And I mean, I guess I agree. It is kind of like, whoop, we're just gonna like do something over here for a while and then get back on the main road. But I loved that part of it. Everyone was like, Leanna's gonna read the third one and she's gonna hate this whole part of it. And I was like, what are you talking about? I loved that.
Awesome. Maybe that'll be my experience too. We shall see. Oh my gosh, excuse me. I'm getting sleepy. I actually need to eat too.
You need to go read Best Served Cold is what you need to do.
I don't have it yet. I probably won't have
Dinner is a dish best served cold.
Oh Lord, that was too perfect. Oh God. Yeah, thanks for having me on though to gush.
Thank you for gushing.
I cannot help it. I love it so much.
I'm so pleased.
So good.
It's nice
Can't
to
wait
like be talking to someone that I'm not like, and this and this and this, and they're like, yeah,
that's
that
cool.
was good. I agree with you. Instead, you're like, yes, that.
Yeah, so good.
Yes.
Yeah, I like can't wait to reread it already, but I want to get through everything before I go reread. So
it is very, again, one of those, not just because I like it, not just because it's like a good book and therefore it's like nice to read a good book, but because of all that stuff that you learned in Last Argument of Kings, it's very fun to reread and be like, oh,
yeah, I see. I see the thing.
Yeah.
Funny.
Okay, I guess I'll let you go.
Alrighty.
I guess we've gushed long enough.
I guess.
Oh yeah, wait, before you go, for everyone that's still here, Jashana vlogged her experience, and I did like it. I'm 99%. Well, you can tell me, chat, if I did this. I'm 99% sure I did remember to link it. If I didn't, I'll go do that. But yeah, you two can experience what I experienced, the play-by-play of as she's reading,
of all my thoughts,
discovering the joy of the whole series. So go check out her vlog.
I had
sick of gushing about
4.5 hours of footage that I cut down to like a little over an hour, I think.
Snaps for me who remembered to link
it. Good job. Look at you. Good stuff. Too funny.
So yeah, everybody, now that you've spent 2 hours here, go spend another
hour
over there.
Enjoy. Oh, Lord.
I mean, I'll allow people to not do that if they're going to go read First Law. But if you're not going to read First Law, the least you could do is go watch some more videos about First Law.
Some more First Law content. Come on. Can't get enough.
Okay. I'll talk to you very soon about Bester Calls.
Yes.
Happy New Year.
Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye. Oh, come on, mouse.
Struggling.